Welcome to Through a Glass Darkly Radio. And you're listening to, I have my notes are not up and now I'm all over the place, but you are listening to intro music from Mark of the Doomslayer by Karl Casey at White Bat Audio. And running, obviously, another experiment tonight. I might be crazy. You might be right. So I already got one on the hook, and man, are you gonna be very pleased with this one? Very low key. Hopefully, for his sake, the word does not get out on UFO Twitter. But make sure I have my banner up too, so that he has an out when he needs to go. There we go. Get the banner going. Anyway, the one, the only Richard Geldrich.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome back.
This is very short notice, like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's why your name's not up in lights right now. No one knows that you're on.
Pine Gap doesn't know yet. Maybe they do.
Not yet, but they'll see your face and they'll be like, "What? Well, we gotta get on. We gotta get on." And then maybe the bots. Well, I think the bots are okay for this venue because that just means I get the. Well, no, then YouTube will probably try to take me down because bots.
Yeah,
right.
I'm going to try to share the whole screen. I'm going to try to share my screen. It'll make it a lot easier for me. Share. This is an experiment. I never did this before. Okay, so you should.
Meanwhile, people are telling me about all their owl synchronicities whenever
Nice.
they watch this channel. Yeah.
Nice. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. So this is what I've been looking at recently is the Kingman 1953 crash retrieval. And one reason why is because Chris Mellon, I never remember this, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, he posted a few months ago this tweet with this image in it, and it seems to be some chat log, and it's all about CNR programs and recovered UAPs and blah blah blah. So anyway, it mentions Kingman, Arizona, 1950s. I'm like, wait a second, I know about this. I looked into this a few years ago. And so if you look into the lore, if you look really deep, like into the ufology and the books and everything, you'll find that in the early, from memory, I believe it was in the early 70s, a man comes out with a pseudonym, Fritz Werner, and there's other individuals involved.
That sounds like a paperclip scientist. Is that just he just happens to have a German name or what?
Well, he worked apparently. Now that we know his real name and we know his obituary, and his obituary said he worked on the Manhattan Project. So I've pulled all these windows up, and what's really interesting, a lot of this information emerged from a man named Ray Fowler, and it turns out Ray Fowler himself. And you got to forgive me, I'm just winging this. Ray Fowler, I'm going through my windows and stuff. He has a security background in the Air Force. So I'm sorry, trying to find it. Here we go. Yeah. So Raymond Fowler comes out in the 70s, and he was apparently writing some books on UFOs, and he was feeling the pressure, according to him, in one of his video interviews. And so was this Fritz Werner guy. Well, Raymond Fowler was an ex-U.S. Air Force Security Service member. I'm not sure when, but that's really interesting because Leonard Stringfield, another famous author on crash retrievals, he was in World War II. He was ex-Army Air Force intelligence. So there's a lot of intelligence people involved in this stuff. That's fascinating. And so anyway, if you've never heard about the Kingman crash retrieval, it's really fascinating. It's like if you explore the surface area of all the leaks, there's not many of them. However, they seem to be pretty solid leaks. Meaning we can find paperwork. We're supposedly an affidavit. I've not been able to find the affidavit as far as I remember, but there's other people who said they've seen the affidavit. It was signed in the 70s. And Chris Mellon posted about it a few months ago, which I find fascinating. So anyway, diving into this crash retrieval is really interesting because this is one of the few crash retrievals where we actually could find, if you look in our public UFO databases. Like these databases are all the, I'm actually looking at one right now, the UPDB. If you take the Kingman crash retrieval date and you plugged it to UPDB and other databases or other chronology, you'll find that there were sighting reports in that area that are really fascinating. And so that's one thing that I pulled it up right here. So if you look at the date where the Kingman crash retrieval occurred, or right before it, or right after it, what you'll find is that there were objects seen by multiple high-quality or reliable witnesses. One of them, I think, was a former or was a pilot. And these witnesses reported that they saw a bunch of craft flying in a strange grid-like pattern. And I also found the newspaper articles, which I posted on Twitter. So these reports are real, meaning I found the original articles in well-known, newspaper engines and stuff. So they're not made up. At least we know these newspaper articles are real. And this is fascinating because this is not a normal UFO report. The witnesses said that they saw the UAPs moving in this grid-like pattern, and there were multiple UAPs, and they thought it was important enough to report into the papers. And so, I found the articles here. I kept looking and stuff like that. So anyway, going to the actual crash retrieval report, there's a lot of literature on this. There's a ton of it. So apparently there was a big nuclear test. It's called Dirty Harry. And there were downwinders. That's why it's a notorious test because it's a very, very, very dirty test. Apparently some people breathed the air downwind. They were called, as I said, downwinders, and they got sick from cancer later on. It's a well-known test. Well, apparently hours after the test, there was this crash retrieval that Fritz Werner, actually his name's Arthur Stansel Jr., reported about, and how the narrative goes. And you can actually see there's a documentary here that I posted a few hours ago. It's really good. It's from YouTube, and it's basically Leonard Nimoy's show. I might be
In Search Of or something.
It might be In Search. It sounds like In Search Of. Yeah, it's Leonard Nimoy. It feels like late 70s, early 80s. And in here there's Raymond Fowler, who appears on camera, and then Raymond is talking to Arthur Stansel on the phone, and then I'm pretty sure this is a picture of Arthur Stansel, but they blacked out his face. Now this is interesting because, well, how do we really know for sure it was Arthur Stansel, right? That could just be bullshit, right? And I don't know for sure, but that's what.
Now, really quickly, who was Arthur Stansel, and why is he important?
Okay, so Arthur Stansel was one of the men. Here's his obituary. Who, in the early 70s, he started talking to UFO researchers, and he said that he was at the test site. I think it was called Frenchman Flats, and he was taken at short notice after the Dirty Harry test, which he was up there working on. He was taken by bus to the Kingman, Arizona area, and then he was there was a lot of security there, a lot of personnel. There was some sort of crashed craft. It was a circular craft, and it wasn't ours. And he was there to determine, I think, how much the craft weighed and things like that, based off how far it went into the ground and things like that. And it's covered in that documentary that I posted on my Twitter a little while ago, just a few hours ago. And so here's the deal. At the time in the 70s and early 80s, I think throughout most of the years, we didn't know his real name. We just thought, all we had was Fritz Werner. But now we know his name was Arthur Stansel. So now, and he's passed. And so he was born in 1924 in Dayton, Ohio. He passed away in 2006. We know where he's buried.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I've built his family tree. This is accurate information, at least in terms of the basic dates and things like that. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. So he was a private first class in the U.S. Army, World War II. He won the Purple Heart, won a Bronze Star. That's interesting. He was in the European theater. We'll go. He was at the Battle of the Bulge. He attained his master's degree in diesel engineering at North Carolina State. For 12 years, he worked as a civilian with the United States Air Force at Wright-Patterson Field. Now, that's a claim in his obituary. Now, the deal is, obituaries, they can be faked. Like, family members can make shit up. And so and I'm not saying that happened in this case, but it's possible, right? And so I went and I dug deeper, and there actually is evidence, hard evidence, that this man was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So this is all on Ancestry.com. You can spend $10 a month or $15 a month to get access to all this information. It's also Fold3.com, is a popular military history document website, whatever. And I searched for his name, Arthur G. Stansel, and then boom, it popped up, Department of Defense Air Force. He was in a design branch at Wright Air Development Center. And there he is at the All Lighting Devices Unit landing gear section. And he was how much money he was making. And you can go on, you can find more about this. I also looked at public records, and yep, there he is, Arthur G. Stansel Jr. He existed for sure. He has some sort of there's a register of civil, military, naval service, stuff like that. So he also has a residency records and things like that. This is a real man for sure. This man was definitely at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the 50s. And moving forward a little bit, going back to his obituary, he worked on. It claims here he worked on many historical programs, including certain aspects of the famous Manhattan Project. That's really interesting. That means he would have a pretty high clearance, or extremely high clearance. Among his assignments was a study of the effects of atomic blasts on structures. And in this assignment, he witnessed three experimental atomic blasts at close range. Okay, that's interesting because if you go and look at the Fritz Werner report about the Kingman crash retrieval, and I'm going through this here, he was an Atomic Energy Commission engineer who was taken by the U.S. Air Force on 5/21 and 53 into the desert outside of Kingman, Arizona, aboard a bus with its windows blackened out to view a crash disk. The object was oval-shaped 30 feet in diameter with a surface that looked like a highly polished brushed metal. In a nearby tent was a dead body 4 feet tall. The body was clothed in a silvery metallic suit with a skull cap. The dead pilot's body had brown skin with other unusual features. That's just a summary. And
by the way, the Kingman crash is the one that Mellon is saying is real, right?
Chris Mellon. I have a link here, so you got to forgive me. I'm just winging this. But yes, well, I will say I'm not fully cognizant of exactly what Chris Mellon has said about this. However, still active on his Twitter right now, there's a tweet with an image, and it talks about a Kingman, Arizona recovered UAP in the 50s. And the other one I'm familiar of is the 53
right.
Kingman crash. And he has actually several posts about this, and he's a very high level figure. And for him to post this is, in my opinion, very significant. And keep in mind, we are only skimming the surface. There's a lot more information available. There's a lot of rumors available about this crash retrieval. I just wanted to post this real fast. I have a picture of what I could find. This is from his obituary. This is Arthur G. Stansel, I guess in middle-aged. Now look at his hair. His hair is interesting. Now this is, I think I believe it's a late 70s-ish or early 80s of Fritz Werner. Now it's hard to tell, but the hair, all I can say is the hair color looks vaguely like similar, and the shape of the hair looks similar. Of course, it might not be him, but that's what the researchers were saying.
Yeah, his calic is in the same place too, right?
Yeah. And by the way, all the background information about Fritz Werner lines up with the obituary we have for Arthur G. Stansel. Now, it says he worked on the famous Manhattan Project, and that's actually one of the next things I'm kind of researching in the background is how many individuals associated in some way with the Manhattan Project talked about crash retrievals or leaked information about crash retrievals or just saucers in general. And actually, we're compiling a list of friends and I on Twitter, and it just keeps growing. So what's really interesting is some of the people who leaked this information did it through, did it indirectly, got it in the books in the 60s, in one case, and they didn't give out their real name, but they gave enough hints so that once they passed away, we would be able to find them. For sure, we found at least one of them. His name's Dr. Norman Holter, who actually he's a famous man in medical field. He developed the Holter medical device. And he said in the late 40s that UAPs were real, and that he was unhappy that they were covering it up. He was associated in some way with Project Sign, which was the late 40s after the summer of 47 investigation about UAPs, the official U.S. government investigation. It was turned into Project Grudge and then Blue Book. And he also said that they were told that there would be an acclamation effort to get the public and I guess the world just aware of what's happening. And that's not Norman Holter. That's not this fellow here, Arthur G. Stansel Jr. But just going back to Arthur Stansel, who's Fritz Werner, the Kingman guy. this guy was involved. He was in all kinds of interesting things, like the project engineer on a guided missile project. He worked on, I don't know what activation mechanisms be, but whatever they were at Curtiss-Wright Corporation. And this goes on and on. This man was a hardcore engineer. He worked for Raytheon, which was originally started by
Vannevar Bush.
Yes, yes, exactly, famous man. And so it just goes on and on and on. He actually worked on Apollo Raytheon's. He was like Raytheon's Apollo space program. Like, this was a major man. And so, according to this interview here on In Search Of, Fritz Werner and Raymond Fowler, this fellow here, they were under pressure. So Fowler, a book author, was releasing books. I have a bunch of them here. He was a prolific author back then. And he was feeling pressure. His employer was feeling the pressure, officially from the Department of Defense. And he's like, okay, I'm just coming out. And the other guy, Fritz Werner, Arthur Stansel, it said here in the documentary, he was feeling pressure as well. And so he came out and started talking. This happens a lot. So what we call this in the research field is you can be on thin ice or you can be on thicker ice. And so if you're on thin ice, it means nobody knows who you are. And if you disappear or something happens to your lawfare or whatever, nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on. But if you come out in the public and say, hey, I was there, I was at this crash retrieval, blah, blah, blah. Well, if something happens to you, that lends credence to like whatever that person was saying. If the regime, is suppressing something, then maybe there's something to suppress, is the idea. And so anyway, it was about a year ago I really dived deep into this one. We have a whole bunch. This is all over the ufological literature. It's mentioned by Leonard Stringfield and numerous other authors. I've also heard a bunch of rumors. I don't know how true they are about this one. Some of them are utterly bizarre and probably just bogus. So this is a well-known crash retrieval in the ufological literature if you dive deep. It's not as well known as Roswell, though. Roswell, we have, for last time, hundreds of witnesses, either direct or indirect, a lot of affidavits, a lot of the U.S. military officers and things like that, high up folks saying that they saw something around the town of Roswell. But this one was very well covered up, and I think it only emerged because Fritz Werner was threatened or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my little report. I find this fascinating. Now, here's the thing. What I find really, I was talking about this earlier. If you go to updp.com and you plug in these dates and look around Arizona, you will find this report here. And this is a significant UAP report. This is not a 4-second or 40-second or 4-minute report. This is a full hour report. And it emerged in newspapers. So they thought it was important enough to go to papers and talk about it. And if you read the details, it's a very interesting report. They reported that the UAPs engaged in acrobatics. So that, which is, and if you read further, there's some sort of grid from what their description was. So it's like, seemed like some sort of surge. So anyway, there you go, man. The next step, I think, to research this further, from my perspective, at least, maybe not this specific case, but as I was saying earlier, we're going to make a list of all the Manhattan Project people, no matter how close or just anybody associated with nuclear testing, who came out and said, hey, UAPs are real, or I was involved in crash retrieval, or whatever. And let's just see what pops out. And I think we'll be really shocked about all the information. And if you compile it all together and put it in one place, it's going to be a lot.
How many people do you think were in on this secret?
So from my perspective, looking at the history, looking at all the leaks, newspaper articles, it was a lot of people. And it was a lot of AAC at the time in the 40s and 50s is what I'm referring to specifically. Before they really clamped down, they brought in a lot of personnel to help on Project Sign. They were rented in various ways. In the late 40s, in many circles, it seems to have been common knowledge that they called them saucers back then, or flying discs, were real. It emerged multiple times, and there were very famous Manhattan Project scientists, such as Dr. Luis Alvarez, who's a very big figure in project. So yeah, this guy here, he leaked the UAP situation and the crash retrievals in the late 40s. And I've covered this on Twitter and in my blog a little bit. And this guy did all kinds of spooky, all kinds of stuff. He worked on the first, I think it was the Fat Man trigger and stuff. This is super high technology stuff. This
like,
guy,
as in Fat Man and Little Boy, the two bombs that were
exactly.
dropped on Hiroshima, Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah, and so let's just search my Twitter here. Oh, I don't want New York Times. This is not my fast computer. This is just a little laptop. It's an AMD. It's good. Struggling though. Yeah, and so this fellow, he pops on the radar. Let's see if we can find it here. And this is an extremely high-level man, like I was saying. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in '68. What do you mean? Oh, here we go. Let's do something for that. Okay. He was written multiple times in the early '80s. He was on the CIA's Robertson panel in '53, where they kind of did a smoke screen over the whole UAP situation. So I have a bunch of posts about Alvarez. And so what leaked? Here's what leaked. October 49, it leaks in the press that there was a crash retrieval near Mexico City. And they found occupants. They were relatively small occupants. They found a saucer. It's the usual, late 40s, we found a crash. Now, the woman who leaked this, her name was Alma Lawson. She was a businesswoman. It came out in I think the early 50s that Alma Lawson actually knew and was talking about Luis Alvarez. Now, there's more corroboration that was some corroboration that was the case because, and now I'm like just hunting through my Twitter here. A guy named Steinman, an author of UFO books and stuff in the 80s and things like that, he contacted Alvarez. I probably lost it, but and he wrote letters to him. And Alvarez, this is from memory, Alvarez didn't outright say that wasn't his leak. They called him Dr. W. By the way, this leaked it didn't just leak in newspapers in the late 40s. It also leaked in occult publications, the Borderland Sciences Research Association's publications. He was called Dr. W. And the Borderlands people, they were kind of like woo and saucers and psychic stuff and physics and just all kinds of stuff. They had their own people talking to Dr. Alvarez back. And so you can read about that on my Twitter. But anyway, here's the other thing about this topic. I'm going to claim that it is impossible for all of this to be invented. It's impossible. If it was all 100% invented and it's all 100% a psyop, I'm still interested in it because it's like the longest running, most consistent, most fractal, most intertwined psyop ever. That's the thing.
It would be the greatest strategic deception campaign in human history.
Exactly. Precisely. And it's like, I'm still interested in it then. I don't even know. I don't know if these things are real. I don't know for sure, right? I don't have one in the front line. I don't have a body on the gurney. But I know
these things are definitely real. I just don't know what they are.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say these things. The phenomena is real. I don't know if
the phenomena.
If our collective subconscious is causing it.
Yeah.
If it's a manifestation, if it's little green men from another world, if it's interdimensionals, I have no idea. But it's real, whatever it is.
Yeah, so I've posted on my Medium. I'm actually searching right on your show here. Yeah, so I have a leaked timeline. I guess I should cover this. It has the Dr. Alvarez.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so this is a Medium post I've been over time adding things to as I hear things, as I learn things, find things in newspapers and whatever. It's like I tried to stay with.
By the way, Rich, this is a time for you don't plug enough. This is a time for a plug. How can people come and read this? It's Medium. You have like a Medium account, right?
Yeah, I have a Medium account, Richard Gelders Jr. You can just go to Medium at RichGel99, and it's free. It's not, none of this is monetized. It's just a hobby. And you can read. I have a bunch of posts there. When I learn something really interesting that advances my knowledge, and I've read a lot of UFO related books over the decades, then I just post it on here for better or worse. And so I have here. To me, I have like this ongoing research. This is like my notes. Everything I find, which I don't think is, I do search all the books that I have digitally or whatever. Anything I find which I think is new in a ufological sense or a research sense, I just post on here, right? And so I've got every leak that, you know, I could find that I thought had any substance to it whatsoever. And, you know, you can go, I have the Dr. Norman Holter leak. I mentioned him a little bit earlier. He was a geophysicist. Now, the Norman Holter leak, Spring 49, this is where the guy said the UAPs are real. He worked on Project Sign, which is plausible, by the way. Norman Holter was a well-known AEC man in the late 40s and 50s. And he worked very close with the AEC. He went to like the high-end atomic meetings and stuff. He was involved.
So AEC, just for everybody who doesn't know, it's the Atomic Energy Commission.
Yeah, exactly. This guy was knee-deep in atomic testing at the time, radioactive medical devices. You know, he was like an early dude involved in this. He invented the Holter medical device, which monitors the heart. It's like a portable device which can monitor your heart and your heart signals and things like that. And so this day we still use Holter devices. But now this leak here is really interesting because I have it on my Twitter. I got it from, I just randomly found this. I have a book, Flying Saucers Are Hostile. It's like a mid-60s book, paperback. And I'm just thumbing through it. I'm like, wait a second. There's a guy, Dr. Holter. I'm like, wait a second. Who the hell's this? And I'm like, he says that UAPs are real and he was a geophysicist, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, let's see if I can find this guy. I have enough clues that, you know, I can try to estimate his birth date. I know when the leak was made, which is the late 40s, 49. And I have this thing, Dr. Holter. Well, it turned out it took 20 seconds. I'm serious. It's a misspelled name. It's not Holter with a T-H-E-R. It's Holter, H-O-L-T-E-R. He was a geophysicist. He did work on bomb testing. He's all over the newspapers. He had a very high security clearance. I have a bunch of links to this guy. And he's like, here he is right here. He has a Wikipedia entry. Right here, this guy. This is the original Holter medical device. So after he stopped working, you know, all the time on atom testing and things like that, he went into medical devices. He was a device genius, electronics guy, like really good at it. And yeah, anyway, he was at Oak Ridge. By the way, I verified a lot of this information. I don't trust Wikipedia, but I did verify a lot of this information from newspaper articles.
You shouldn't trust Wikipedia. It's better. It's more accurate than the news media, but it's still a propaganda arm.
Anybody can go on here and pop in crap or delete.
No. Even if it is curated by a certain group, I think even Lou Elizondo is an example. He tried to change something about his own background, i.e., like where he was born, and the cabal that runs that portion of Wikipedia wouldn't allow him to.
Yep.
So
I think even his
own birth.
Even his birth, yeah, it's crazy.
His own freaking birth.
Okay, so I have about 5,000, 4,600 currently. I have many more locally. I have about 4,600 newspaper clippings on newspapers.com, and these are public. Anybody can go look at them. And so you can see, and I've done my homework. Here's when he died, right here, Helena, Montana, Norman Holter. What's interesting about this is that he also worked for the U.S. Navy on research. I verified that. He was at Bikini working on atomic testing. Yeah. Now the deal is, in order for him to do this at Bikini and be so deeply involved in the AEC and with atom testing and stuff, he had to have had a security clearance of some sort. And he was recalled by the AEC, the Atomic Energy Commission, in '52 to start to chart fallout caused by atmospheric atomic testing, which was very controversial back at that time. And so this man had a high security clearance. Now I find it fascinating that in a book in the mid '60s, somewhere here, I don't know, I'll find it. It emerged that Dr. Holter said UAPs are real. And I put the whole thing on Twitter. Here it is. Yeah. So he said, he described how the governmental agency in charge of saucer information planned over a course of many years to purposely leak bits of authoritative information to the public in the form of official statements, novels, sightings, and even through the medium of motion pictures, blah, 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 blah. And so, and so it talks about like how he was angry that they just wouldn't come out and say it, and they're clamping a lid on it. The guys who he was talking to were shocked because in 49, saucers were not real. They were absolutely not real. It was the figment of everyone's imagination. Nothing happened in 47 other than a hysteria. So it was it was swamp. It wasn't even swamp gas at the time. It was just spots in front of your eyes. You're absolutely crazy. But it turns out the Air Force themselves at 49 and 48, they were the ones who were beating the drum behind the scenes. Them and their people back in those days. Yeah, and so I could go on and on. I got the crash through the leak timeline, and so you can go through this. And I got the Alvarez leak in here, which was the Nobel Prize winner. We got Frank Scully's first book. Before this, now this I find this is really interesting to me. So there was a dude in the he came out around 1980 with Leonard Stringfield first. Came out by name. He was ex-CIA. His name was Virgil Armstrong. I have not been able to verify he was truly ex-CIA. However, he was definitely ex-military. His military records, his nickname is Potsy. They were easily found on Ancestry.com. He was legit in the military in World War II, and he was where he said he was where he was at. And it wouldn't surprise me that you can't tell that he was CIA because they're a secret organization, right? So yeah, he was also called Source VA by Leonard Stringfield, although Stringfield didn't publish his name. So Armstrong talked all about the other crash retrievals. He talked about Roswell bit. He published a book in the late 80s about the the Aztec crash retrieval. He talked about how hard it was to move the objects across the country. So he said that the logistical difficulties were legendary. And here's where I find this fascinating, is that he said that in his book and in his interviews, that the Aztec crash, or what sounds like the Aztec crash, it might have been a landing, it's a little fuzzy, leaked in Coronet magazine. And then the U.S. military or U.S. intelligence or FBI or something, they went and they got every copy they could find off the stands. And they also confiscated the copies from every military officer, every military person had. And I'm like, wait a second. Okay, this is censorship, but censorship's never complete. And Virgil Armstrong said that a few copies were still in existence. So if that's true, somewhere out there, and the public somewhere, or probably on some shelf gathering dust, there is an issue of Coronet magazine that talks about the Aztec crash. And it's an original printing, and it had to be censored, destroyed, and they had to reissue that magazine. Now, here's the deal. Here's what I've done. I've went through 1948, the whole year, of every mention of Coronet magazine in newspapers that I could find. It wasn't like something silly. I've just looked for any indication that a magazine article came out that was retracted, a magazine issue came out that was retracted, or mentioned crash retrievals or saucers or whatever. I can't find shit. I've looked and looked. Doesn't mean it's not out there. I just can't find it. And I will just keep looking. I believe, personally, I think Virgil Armstrong's telling the truth. He said he actually had the issues. He had to turn them in. I don't see why he'd make it up.
Have you tried to see if they're in a local libraries, like interlibrary loans and stuff like that?
Well,
major institutions.
Yeah,
like Harvard,
yes.
Stanford, that sort of stuff.
Yes. So the deal is Coronet it's not really even sure. Is it Coronet or Coronet? Because I think from memory, Coronet existed too. But this was the more popular one. The deal is they had to retract the issue World War II censorship style and then quickly issue a new one. So I think the next step would be to see if there's any evidence that there was a delay in publication, of a particular issue around approximately the date we think it could have came out. It's searching for a needle in a haystack, and it's very difficult. But I did let me see, I'll just look at my clippings here. I'm sure I saved something in here. Yeah, you can see I did some research, and I have here's an article from March 2nd, 1948. Some things about Coronet magazine, but I just couldn't find anything solid. So yeah, but sometimes Coronet was misspelled as Coronet as well. So I tried to find it, but the boys did a good job making sure that we didn't get a hold of that. And it's believable, by the way, because they had balloon bomb censorship, and there was extreme censorship during World War II. And this is a few years
I wonder if, because presumably there were subscriptions for this magazine, so people would receive it in the mail.
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
Well, we can speculate, right? Yeah, if you're in the intelligence community, you go to the publisher and you say, let me have a list of
yes. Actually, here's the deal. In the early 50s, there are stories, a couple, that in a few newspapers, there actually is evidence of this too, in a few newspapers, crash retrieval articles were published. They leaked. Information leaked. And intelligence men, this is what the stories say, would go around and collect the newspapers. And it was a patriotic country back then. So, people would hand them over. However, they're also, I don't know if I could find this off the top of my head, but we can try. I'm not sure if I have so many articles, but I have found some very strange newspaper anomalies. And I've posted them on my Twitter. And, I don't know if I can find off the top of my head right now, but I can talk about it. And so here's what I found. In the early 50s, I searched for every instance of saucer landing and, just any kind of phrase that they would use back then. And I found all these interesting articles. One of them had the title that a saucer had landed in this local, it was a local newspaper, saucer had landed. And then if you go to the article, it was about the Korean War. It had nothing to do with the title. And so I was like, wait a second, how could the editors screw that up? You put, there's a saucer had landed and police. Oh,
they didn't. They probably edited the article and missed the title.
That's absolute possibility. It was interesting. It said police had, I'm actually looking right now. Here it is. I found it. Here we go. This is an anomaly. Okay, this is an actual newspaper in Paris, Texas, August 25th, 1950. The Paris News. Grounded saucer found by police. Okay, cool. Let's see what's going on. Has nothing to do with saucers. It's about the U.S. 25th Division, Korea, AP Newswire. Like, what the hell? So I'll show you the context of this so you can just see what's going on. This is not a front page hit. So this is page 9. So it's like in the middle of the paper. It's just over here. But grounded saucer found by police. What the hell? What is that? That's not a normal. What the hell? By the way, this is.
What does it say? What does it say?
Yeah, so if you zoom, I'll zoom in for you here. It just says it's recruit John B. Chetham learned to shoot while hunting squirrels with a 22 in the woodlands near. What? It paid off in Korea. The division public information officer today. So they replaced. I'm just speculating. They replaced the contents with an AP Newswire article about some dude in Korea shooting with his gun and when he hunted the squirrels. I'm like, what? I don't know what this.
Yeah.
Listen, that's weird. I gotta say that to me. I've done a lot of diving in newspapers. That's an anomaly. I love finding anomalies like this. Right? It's weird. And
yeah.
it's
Somebody screwed up. Somebody got court-martialed for that.
Yeah, somebody screwed up. And this is August 25th, 1950. So this is like the Korean War was getting hot. I mean, hot as hell. And so that it was like getting really desperate around that time too. That's also around the time that Scully's book came out and the saucer situation was exploding and the blue book was coming back. It was getting super hot. So I found there's other little things I found, misspellings that seemed strategic. I found my share of them, mostly in the mid-late 60s. They would misspell things occasionally. Maybe it's just an accident or whatever. Sometimes I see things like I get the feeling that the information was read over the phone and then the dude was typing it over the phone and misspelled. So that happens to whatever. And you look at thousands of these things and you do pick up patterns. I will warn people, though, that if you do get into this, looking at old newspaper articles for fun, for any reason, you need to be careful because early 20th century newspapers were very brutal. They're not rated G sometimes. They're like, especially the big cities like LA. I have been depressed. I have been shocked after reading some of those articles. I mean, they're
in what way? Like, is there like bad language in them?
No. It's like just horrifying scenes out of a horror movie painted in words by a wordsmith. So, and I won't get.
Oh, that's
into the
fantastic. I mean, we should still.
I'm not going to talk about what I've read. It's so horrifying. But yeah, they would just report things like as it happened, like a horror movie. Like blah 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 blah. A. And then B.
Yeah, as they
C,
investigated the scene. A man's head was found in the culvert.
Oh, worse.
Caked in,
No, that's worse. No, they wanted to get. It's all about getting that. The press wanting to get their views to get because it's money, right? Yeah, and so I factor that in. So
it's partially decomposed by rabbit, hungry squirrels. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So like what I've learned is while doing this research, I do look. This is something else I've noticed too. This has happened over and over again. I find a crash retrieval article. Or just a UAP sighting or whatever, right? I look at the articles around it and I notice plane crashes. A lot of times there are military plane crashes. Like the same day, saucer sighting, same general location, military plane crash. Oh, it was just an accident. And then we keep hearing rumors on Twitter and elsewhere that a lot of these crashes were actually not really accidents or normal crashes. They were somehow associated with the saucers, and there might have been shoot downs, and who knows, right? But it's weird because there seems to be the newspaper editors would go, okay, well, here's a saucer article here. Well, put some plane crashes over here and put it right next to it. Really interesting, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I could go on and on, Sean. You know how I am with this topic. I love this topic. Here's the thing. This topic is fractal, and this is what people need to know. If it was fake, I think we could have debunked it. Like, let's say it was 100%, like a PSYOP, the 75, 80, 90-year PSYOP. I believe we could have debunked it by now, right? Because we keep diving deeper and deeper into public records, and but no, it just gets deeper. Like, I find the leak in a mid-60s paperback book, research the leak, plug into a search engine, find a Manhattan Project guy or find a U.S. Navy guy who worked on nuke testing or whatever. It's just like all roads seem to lead. This is why I researched the 40s, 50s, the Manhattan Project, World War II, V2 testing, atomic testing, radar, AEC, like the data. If you look at this, all this information we have now as just data, and a lot of it just leads it back in time into solidly the Manhattan Project and the immediate downstream projects after that. And that's what David Grush actually said in one of his interviews approximately, 10 months ago, whatever it was, that the Manhattan Project was the first UFO reporting agency, which is very plausible because there were reports, and we have the people who submitted that, who talked about them. There were lots of reports of UAPs near sensitive installations in the 40s, but it was all covered up because it could have been a balloon bomb-like situation where that was the Japanese device that they were explosive balloons that the Japanese sent. It was all covered up and hush-hush because we didn't want the Japanese to learn if they were successful or not. And so in World War II, a lot of those UAP reports were like super hush-hush. And by the way, that's well known in the 50s. That actually, the newspaper, if you read thousands and thousands of these clippings, you will inevitably find editors talking about censorship back during World War II. It was commonly done. They had to do it. It was required by law. There was actually like a censorship bureau, or it wasn't called that exactly, but there was official, U.S. government orgs that did censorship. They had to do it because the Japanese and the Germans were, all the Axis power, they were reading our newspapers. Well, anyway, the editors would talk about in the early 50s. I found a few articles in the 40s. They talked about how they were being pressured to censor saucer-related articles in the same way that balloon bomb articles were being were censored. And that I have them in. I probably have them right here. Let's look for balloon bomb. They're not searching balloon bomb on a million articles. Yeah, and so here's one: balloon bomb censorship. And so this is exactly what I was just explaining here. This was in July 10th, 1947, which is 2 days after the Roswell announcement. And here it says, mystery in the sky. We are hearing a lot these days about mysterious flying objects in the sky. Speculation is rife, blah, 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 blah. And then it starts talking about the FBI and balloons, things like that. But then he immediately segues into, during the recent war, he was up in Montana, and he talks about the Japanese balloon bombs, things like that. This is not the only article that talks and associates saucers or UAPs with the balloon bomb situation back then. And so, I have all kinds. It's actually, the balloon bombs themselves are really interesting. So it's like
the Japanese were putting like bioweapons on them, right? And then they were just sending them over, carried along by the jet stream. And the military obviously didn't want them to be reported because they would let the Japanese know if, tweak this or tweak that to land it closer to this particular population center.
Yeah, and so a few people got killed from the balloon bombs. They were extremely dangerous. Sometimes they would land and not explode immediately. There was a lot of censorship, as I was saying. The cool thing about UAPs is people don't realize this, but some of the first reports in the early, from memory, it was early 47, were by balloon experts using specialized telescopes. You got to forgive me, the name is on the tip of my tongue.
Infrared?
No. This is in
radio?
47. These were optical telescopes. They have a specialized name for them, and they would launch balloons and then observe them. And the first reports actually come from expert balloon observers. They are in the databases, in the books. I find that fascinating. So, like, everybody says, oh, they're just balloons. Like I have tons and tons of articles about, oh, well, it's a flying disc, only a weather balloon. We get tons of these things, blah, blah. Oh, look, see, guys, it's just a balloon. Yeah, okay. It keeps going on and on and on. Well, actually, some of the reports were by literal balloon experts. And they said that they were not balloons. They were watching the balloon and they would see a disc fly by and were like, what the frick was that? That wasn't a balloon. And they made a report because that's what their job was. And they sometimes they would, I could probably just do a search right here. Let's see. Yeah, so this is my own private. Well, it's not private. This is all open source. This is my own search engine here. This is ufo-search.com. And so, I released this a while ago. All the source code's on GitHub. 99% of the reports are not my reports. They're from various public databases. I preserved all the copyrights and stuff like that. So it's all on GitHub. So this is called ufo-search.com. I typed in balloon. I'm going to limit it to 1947. And it shows you by default the more up-to-date or more recent events. So we'll go back in time. It's just called a theodolite. Here you go. So this
it's got like a compass. It's basically lined with like a compass, sort of.
Yeah. So like old school I'm probably not. I'm mangling the pronunciation, but old school. Very old school, like one of these guys here. This guy. So these are like back in the day, professional observers would use these devices.
Because you could measure the distance and direction with them, right?
Yeah, so this is interesting. So we had a big wave of UAPs reported in summer of 47, starting around Kennethall sighting, and then continuing for weeks, and then they trickled off, but still continuing in the background, right? Well, it didn't start in June 24th, 1947. Actually, it goes way back before that. But there was a spike of reports in 46 and 47, some from professionals or high quality observers like this engineer from the Richmond Weather Bureau. We have his name. They launched a balloon on 4/15/47. They tracked it with a theodolite. They observed just below the craft a silver object in the shape of an ellipse, which sounds like a flying disc. It appears larger than the balloon, and they can make out through the theodolite that it is flat on the bottom and has a dome on the upper side. They observe it for about 15 seconds. Then the object disappears to the west at the altitude of commercial airplanes. Well, yeah, so we have the guy's name. He's a meteorologist. This is a professional. That's what they do for a living. So as soon as I saw that, I wasn't aware of this until I started researching this, deeply. I'm like, wait a second. These are experts that you can find in the late 40s and early 50s. U.S. Navy experts who also use theodolites at White Sands were observing these objects as well. So something's up. Whatever these things are, something happened. I believe strongly it has to be taken seriously because the probability that every single report was a hoax, spot in front of someone's eyes, swamp gas, or balloon, I think the probability that all of them are fake or hoax is zero. So some of these, all it takes is one out of, you can estimate conservatively we have millions of sightings easily.
Can you imagine, like in the pre-internet era, like long time ago, if you were in the intelligence community and you were trying to shut this down with all these local papers, like how big do you think their intelligence networks had to have been to get somebody? I guess you would just have to be near, like have someone.
Oh, well, it's the answer.
In the newsroom.
In the old days, they already had this set up, and I'm digging into my memory. So the deal is back during World War II. Let's sort this by date. Back during World War II, we had lots of censorship, and there was actual.
They probably had informants that were in every news department in every local town, and they were just instructed, if you see anything, give us a call, or if you're about to go public, give us a call.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, and so the Office of Censorship was an emergency wartime agency set up by the U.S. federal government on December 1941 to aid in the censorship of all communications coming into and out of the United States. And you can read about this, and it goes on and on and on. I know that there were specific agencies set up during World War II to make sure newspapers, there were some constraints, right? And sometimes they would censor things, and they would say in the newspaper article, like I'll show you this right here. I think I can find this. They would say right in the article that they had to censor. Here you go. Here's one. This is December 13th, 1944. So near the end of the war. It's about the Foo Fighters. And it says, new German device. They didn't know what it was. Floating silvery balls, so anti-gravity. This dispatch was heavily censored at Supreme Headquarters. Like, they sometimes would just say outright, we had to censor this. What's interesting, there was a psychological strategy board. Let's see if I can find that in the 50s and 60s and stuff. I think that continued on. So here's the deal. After the Robinson panel, oh, here we go. I'm a psychological strategy board, of course. Here you go. August 18th, 1950. U.S. creates Psychological Warfare High Command. And so they decided that they needed to target, the narrative is that the Soviets were spreading all kinds of propaganda. And so they had to fight it. It's like propaganda fighting against propaganda. Supposedly it was only going to be foreign propaganda. But no, I think history shows that it was also a domestic situation as well.
Yeah, and it's getting worse now.
Yeah, and this continues to this day, right? And so President Truman created a new psychological strategy board. Now, the psychological strategy board is a phrase you can find. Let me do this. So if you go to UPDP, another one of my favorite. This is a rogue search engine. It's not mine. Watch this. So we're going to do this. Psychological strategy board. This searches a lot of UFO documents. Oh, shit. We got a lot of hits on this. So, yeah, we got all kinds of hits. It starts getting into MJ12, very famous figures. This is a huge. I know these are notes. This is huge. But anyway, you can go on and on. The psychological strategy board really comes into play after the Robertson panel in '53 decided we need to cover this all up. We need to stop this. We need to get rid of the fascination with UAPs or flying saucers or UFOs, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what we got here. There's been endless talk about this stuff over the decades, and we've got endless literature on this, Sean. And so this is updp.app. It's a great search engine. You can also search through UFO reports. There's Stanton Friedman right here. And so, let's see if we can find a hit. Oh.
What was that?
I don't know. It looks like an advertisement. I don't know. It's a UFO, it's a UFO document, but a magazine or article or something. And so who knows? Here we go. Okay. On July 1st, 1952, General Smith wrote to the director of the Psychological Strategy Board established by Truman the previous year, I am today transmitting to the National Security Council a proposal in which it is concluded that the problems associated with unidentified flying objects appear to have implications for psychological warfare as well as for intelligence operations. And they did. They held a meeting. That was the Robertson panel meeting that led after that. And that's when they decided, all right, we're clamping down. Now, here's what's interesting. In 53, they decided, we're clamping down. We're going to stop this. They weren't very successful, and it still appeared all over local newspapers. So that's the deal. Like, newspapers.com has literally now over 1 billion pages. Most of these newspapers are small town newspapers. So the feds just couldn't get to every small town newspaper and tell them you're not allowed to publish these reports. And that's actually what we're finding. We're finding there are literally easily over 1 million hits. I'm being very conservative for anything related to UAPs, UFOs, flying discs, flying saucers in newspapers, most of them in local papers, but even the news wires like AP News, I find tons and tons of those articles too. But the locals did report not the locals. What I'm trying to say is there were local groups. One of them was the Borderlands people in San Diego. They reported that after 53, saucer sightings in the major media, like in radio and early TV, simmered down a lot. They noticed it. They said it was spooky and eerie back in the early 50s. So they were very attuned to the situation. The average person probably wouldn't have noticed it. So yeah, I wanted to show people while we're here, stop me whenever, Sean. But this is a really cool search engine. I use this all the time. It's called UPDP. The source code is available on GitHub. Whoever is behind this is a huge effort. They have scraped everything. It's amazing. So let's search for landing from 1947 to say 57. Okay, and now I just search for any report mentions landing, and we got 309 reports. And so what's cool about this thing? It tells you where the reports come from. They're located. I'll click on it for Kirtland Air Force Base. And so this is originally from UFO DNA. It has probably has a link to it somewhere on the original site. A lot of these old reports are on ancient websites, which are gone and are now on archive.org. Various researchers, including myself, have gone through archive.org and pulled those old databases out. And so anyway, yeah, I mean, you can spend forever here. Now, I want to mention, like, in UPDP, if you search for summer 47 dates and just study the results. Let's do that right now. June 47 to say August 47. They are utterly fascinating. They are insane. Some of them are not just regular reports. Some of them are like, I mean, it sounds insane. Like, there's 633 reports, which actually is pretty good. I would expect over 1,000. In reality, there's probably over 1,000. So that's pretty good coverage for just those few months. What I don't like about UPDP is that it does pull in Blue Book, so a lot of these are pre-debunked. A lot of them will say, "Oh, it was a balloon," and it's like, wait a second. If you read the actual report, there's no freaking way it was a balloon. But one day, this is like a year and a half ago, I was going through UPDP, and I think I actually did post this on Twitter. I found a report that was weird. It was like this person reported it after the fact, years later. It wound up somehow in somebody's database, and then it wound up on UPDP. And he said that him and his partner, his wife, were in their bedroom, and something anomalous happened. They almost lost consciousness. This is like the summer of 47, like early July. It was like they were almost sucked through a wall kind of deal. It was like very traumatic to them. And so they didn't tell anybody at the time, but they told people later on, and it wound up in some book or something that went up in here. But by the way, like, those kind of weird reports that sound freaking frankly crazy, they're all over these databases. It's weird. So yeah, anyhow, Sean, I could go on. I'm just kind of meandering through. I just wanted to show people, like, some of the resources that are available if you want to do, your own research. I'll just recap. You got updp.app, which is amazing. I was just showing newspapers.com earlier. There's a whole bunch of these sites. There's also the California Newspaper Archive. It's free. So this one's cool. It's the California Digital Newspaper Collection. And this one doesn't require a subscription. You can just type in a search phrase, saucer landing, and then you can see what pops up. I like this one because there's no subscription, and it's actually really high quality. So I don't know how fast it is, but yeah. Anyhow, other resources. There's my thing. There's UFOsearch.com. I have a bunch of stuff here. This is really just research-oriented stuff. So I have all the crash retrieval conference proceedings in here. So there were several of these events in, I believe, the Las Vegas area or in Las Vegas by some famous figures and ufology and stuff. And I bought all of their symposiums and then scanned them with a medical scanner and then popped them online. And I also indexed them by article and stuff like that. So yeah, I got that there. Anyway, I searched for saucer landing, and on the California Digital Newspapers Collection, and you see there's a bunch of hits. Some of them might just be jokes, right? Oh, here you go. Something on Mount Rainier. What's this? Yeah, I don't know what this is. This is 81.
I mean, Mount Rainier was where the first flying saucer.
That's right. Oh, it looks like in this case, I'm guessing a TV show. So maybe it's a documentary about a TV show. And by the way, these old newspaper these listings of TV documentaries and interviews are sometimes extremely valuable. I've learned useful pieces of OSINT crawling through this stuff. Let's see what it is. So this is October 25th, 1981. I just looked for saucer landing for fun. A report on a flying saucer landing in Mount Rainier. So it looks like it was a documentary, real people. And it's like a ghost town in New Mexico. It looks like just a variety show.
Have you looked at up airships in the California database?
Like the mystery airships?
Yeah, like in the 1800s.
I have actually. Yeah, it's interesting. I found some fascinating things in there. Yeah, so I do use this one. I think there's a lot of overlap between what's in the California Digital Newspaper Collection and newspapers.com. Restart this here. Let's do it over here. Let's see what I found. That'll be under airship. Yeah, so I've collected. Let's go back sort of by date. Okay. Yeah, so there is a covert history of airships, because in the 1800s, it was a semi-secret technology. It was perceived as a military technology by various powers. And so there's lots of rumors that leak online. But you can see I'm not like really deep into the mystery airships. However, I did mention this clipping in my presentation I made on the show a while back. And this I found fascinating. I'm a big fan of Thomas Edison, the famous inventor. So on April 29th, 1897, Thomas Edison heard reports about these mystery airships, and he said they're fakes. However, he said that he thinks an airship will soon be made, but it will not be based on the balloon idea. And he said, and this is quoting Edison, whenever an airship is made, it will not be made of the shape of a balloon. It will be a mechanical contrivance, which will be raised by means of a powerful motor, which must be made of a very light material. At present, no one has discovered such a motor, but we never know what will happen. Remember, this is in 1897. We may wake up tomorrow morning and hear of some invention which sets us all eagerly to work within a few hours, as was the case with Roentgen rays. That's X-rays.
X-rays.
Yeah, their success may come. I am not, however, figuring on inventing an airship. I prefer to devote my time to objects which have some commercial value. At the best, airships will only be toys. He was right. And airships really, they had a little bit of use, but they kind of faded away after airplanes, the mechanical contrivance. I think Edison did good for 1897. He's basically predicting a gasoline motor. He was basically predicting a super lightweight motor made out of a light material, and the power to weight ratio of a gas motor is pretty high enough to make an airplane. So I found that fascinating. By the way, I think I'm the first to find this. I looked at a lot of books and stuff, and I didn't see any hits for Edison and mystery airships and stuff. So yeah, I mean, just sometimes even the people saying it's fake is useful. But yeah, there's all kinds of reports. There's a thesis by one man. He found thousands of clippings of the mystery airships for 1896 and 97. My personal opinion is that a lot of them are fake to get newspaper readership up, but some of them I believe were real reports. I strongly believe that because there's so much overlap for various reasons. There's a lot of overlap between the attributes of the late 1800s reports and the attributes of the 1940s and 50s reports. Secondly, there were witnesses who saw UAPs in the late 1800s and saw them in the summer of 47 and reported them. And by the way, when they made this claim, they brought the clippings, their late 1800 clippings, to the newspapers in summer of 47 to prove that they made the report. And that I have posted on Twitter. I find that really fast. It's like Rosetta Stone. It's like a person who in the 19th and the 20th century saw UAPs and they said they looked, similar and stuff like that in each time period. I search really hard for cases like that. I love finding cases where somebody in two different time periods that are widely different, like said they saw UAPs. And by the way, the sighting he had in the late 1800s was a multiple witness sighting. And flying discs, by the way, were sighted. Let me see if I can mount this up. Yeah, we got this. Might be saucer. So the actual first use, I'm not sure if I can find it really fast, but the first use of a saucer or disc to describe a UAP was not in 1947. That was in the late 1800s. Let me just look at I'm just going to sort all my clippings by date. Yeah, and so I might have a hit in here. Let's see here. Yeah, flying machine. So there are various hits before 1896 that sound like flying saucers. And one was in Texas. So Missouri, Kansas. I don't have a lot of these hits, or a lot of these clippings. So I'm just going through my early clippings here. Let's look for Texas. Yeah, so this was in Texas. I think it was north of Dallas. And the person reported that he saw, I might have the clipping, I might not, but I did post it. I'll just summarize it. He saw an object go overhead. It was disc-shaped. It made a shadow, a very large shadow. It went straight overhead. It was totally silent. He reported it as a saucer or a disc. And this is in like the 1870s, 1880s. And so these reports go way back. And he said it moved rapidly, so it's unlikely to have been a balloon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so anyway, I could go on and on, Sean. I have thousands of these clippings. We can just
keep going. Keep going. No, nobody's emailed me yet. So
yeah. So how can we tell do we have listeners? going on?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Of course. Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's see here. What can we find? Let's see here. Battle of LA. We got that.
Yeah, let's do that.
No, wait. No, what we could cover is let's do this. So let's go to my database and let's do something special here. Let's put in the Hatch. Let's go. So there was a computer programmer named Larry Hatch, and let me find it here. And he spent like 2 or 3 decades sitting around compiling reports from magazines, newspapers, just books everywhere, and putting them in his own MS-DOS database, and which he sold for like $20. And Jacques, I think I mentioned him at one time or another.
He sold it for $20.
Approximately, maybe $25. Remember, that's a lot. Remember, 20 years ago, free inflation, that was some money, right? So
not really.
There's been a lot of inflation.
20 years ago?
Maybe it was 30
20 years ago?
I'm just like roughly, in that area. So yeah, and he worked with Jacques. He talked with Jacques Lee a few times about this database. It was called the UDB database. Well, here's what we're gonna do. So I've imported this database. It's open source, and the family gave permission for people to use it for research purposes. And so let's just push this up. It's about 22,000 or so entries. So give it. This is all in the browser, so you got to give it a second. This doesn't go to the server. So what it's doing now, it's going to bring up all of Hatch's database hits, and it's going to put at the end a histogram of the years that the report occurred in. You got to give it time. This is not the fastest machine. Okay, so let's look at the histogram. So this is the Hatch database, and this I love looking at. I look at these histograms all the time just to verify that my importing code isn't buggy. And we got a whole trickle, going back in time of UAP or UAP-like reports. Fine. We get these little bursts here, like here's 1896, 1897. There's not a lot of, he doesn't have a lot of reports, although in reality there was a whole bunch of clippings, like I said earlier. But here's what's interesting. There's like a dead period between or right after the mystery airships, and there's the invention of the airplane, Wright brothers, and then balloons were used in World War I. And then there's this interesting dead period here, and I'm really fascinated by this. There is a problem we have. I have found reports in newspapers that seem like UAP reports, and I've posted these. So over in California, for example, early 1900s, there were witnesses that they reported seeing what they thought were planes, but these things could hover. They flew at night. In the early history of aviation, before they had instruments and stuff like that, it was extraordinarily dangerous to fly at night in the very early history of aviation, according to the experts. And so these reports don't make sense. They're like, well, we saw an airplane, and then it says, well, it hovered. And it wasn't flying around, it was hovering. And it would hover over this and do this. And then it had night lights. And I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't sound like an actual airplane report. It sounds like a UAP report. But I believe strongly that just looking at the reports, this is a kind of a lost period that needs more work between 1898 and say the mid 30s or so. And this was like the public was just getting acclimated to flight by airplane and by the dirigibles and things like that. There's also reports that, by the way, there's also reports where I think they legitimately were airplanes, but there's a ton of reports of criminals and bootleggers using airplanes to haul illegal goods across state lines and national boundaries and stuff like that. Sometimes these planes would crash. Sometimes those planes would get shot at too. There are all kinds of newspaper articles of mystery airplanes, that's what they were called, being found in the desert. And maybe they were invented to just get newspaper readership up. I don't know, but they're really cool, actually. They're like bootleggers in the middle of the desert with their airplane, and it's flying in and out and things like that. And so if you're a researcher going through all the different phrases that were used throughout history to describe UAPs, you need to be aware, well, okay, we got to look for all the mystery airplane sightings, because some of these might be UAPs. Mystery airship, some of them might be UAPs, And you just happen to read these most amazing articles. Let's see if we can find one of these guys. Yeah, I'm not signing in again. There we go. Okay, let's look for mystery airplane. Let's see what we get here. Yeah, okay, so there were flaps of mystery airplane sightings. And they were shot at sometimes, like I was saying. they're weird. Some of them were at night, which was super dangerous back then. They don't make a lot of sense, but I think they're real reports because there's sometimes the flaps are reported in multiple newspapers around the same time. So there's multiple editors and multiple companies involved, and there's real people sometimes making quotes. You can research those people and see that they existed, stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, you find all kinds of reports like this, and I don't know sometimes what to make of them. This is a flying disc report, 47. Yeah, so but this is not a real photo. This is somebody illustrated. Yeah, this is zooming forward to July 7th, 47, the day before Roswell. There were many people that reported weird flying spheres, some of them a little large in the sky, and some of these were mass reports seen by 60 people, like in Arizona. And sometimes these spheres were seen near flying disc-shaped craft as well. So, and they occurred all over the country. Anyway, Sean, I mean, this was all on short notice. I'm just sitting here BSing about,
People are tuning in, man. They're loving it. I'm serious. I know you're not getting any feedback, but I mean, you're getting feedback on that.
Oh, all right. Let me show you another favorite search. Let me show you one of my favorite searches. This is an advanced technique. Let's go to archive.org. All right. Let's type in a simple one, a beginner search phrase like flying saucer. So let's search. This is key. Notice I'm searching in text for all search text contents. Notice I quoted it, flying saucer. Let's get go. All right. We're going to get a whole bunch of hits. We're going to change some things, though. Let's first sort by date published, and let's invert it. Let's invert that guy, and let's narrow down the dates. Let's say 1947 to 1955. Before the summer of 47, the phrase flying saucer meant those things that people shoot, sportsmen shoot in the air, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Like sporting clays?
Yeah, sporting clays. They were sometimes called flying saucers before Kenneth Arnold. And so, yeah, I just searched for every instance of flying saucer between 47 and 55. And so date published. And you'll find the most amazing things in here. You'll find government documents, FOIA documents, magazine articles, books, thesaurus. Oh, look here. Look at this one. Las Cruces, New Mexico. What's this one? 40. Oh, this looks good. This is a juicy one. So let's pop that one up. Might be Blue Book. All right. This is from the U.S. Air Force. Wait a second. Why was the U.S. Air Force collecting newspaper clippings of hallucinations? That doesn't make much sense to me. But anyway, missile expert. This is, by the way, this is an official U.S. Air Force document, Project Blue Book, which most likely these projects signed back then. And these were collected. These are clippings collected by the United States Air Force. Missile, and this is July 8th, 1947. What a coincidence. Isn't that interesting? I find that fact. It's the day of Roswell. Missile expert reveals seeing flying saucer. Naval lab expert tells us seeing craft. Naval research laboratory guided missile expert describes seeing a flying saucer with two scientists. He observed it on June 29th near White Sands, New Mexico. That's where we're testing the V2s. So that I just did it right in front of you. Like, that's how easy it is to find these documents now. So I just want to make a comment to anybody listening, like, that's trying to, cover this up, as they would say in the old days. It's
right in front of our noses. It's right in front of our noses.
I mean, now any high school student with a Chromebook sitting in a cafe can type flying saucer, boom, bang, done. They're pulling up project sign documents. They're seeing on July 8th, 47 that naval experts talking about this. Like, it's over. Like, we can argue all day what these things are, but it's I think virtually impossible to say they don't. The phenomenon doesn't exist, because it clearly does, and it's obvious that the United States Air Force researched the hell out of it. So this is a 16-page report. Let's see what it is. Okay, 3610th Electronics Station Analysis of Project Grudge Reports. So this is the project that followed Sign. Mm-hmm. And, I've spent hours and hours reading these. And some of these are utterly fascinating. Back in those days, when someone this is interesting. When someone made a report, let's say some guy, he's like, I saw a saucer, here's a photo, I have a photo. You turn it in, right? This is actually kind of talk about a real situation. They would research his credit rating. They would talk to his neighbors. They would interrogate him multiple times. They would talk to wives, brothers. They would vet this person. They took this seriously. This was a very serious situation. This was not just balloons or swamp gas. So at least back then, they were very serious about it. And it makes sense. It could have been Soviet, right? Might have been a secret weapon. Who knows, right? But we were a very serious country back then about the situation. So yeah, anyway,
Back
you
then,
can
right.
yeah, you can see like this. By the way, Hynek himself probably was composing some of these here. This is how seriously they took it back. They didn't have computers back then. This was all manual, man. This was typewriters. You know, this was, by the way, this was secret documents back in the old days. Now, obviously, classified now, but yeah. So it's like this Air Material Command right there, liaison officer. So by Naval Research Laboratory, and so there's interviews. They're interviewing witnesses and shit. Some of them were okay. This is kind of interesting. What is this one? So, interview of person reporting unidentified aerial object. Yet another acronym, UAO. Okay, so they had a sighting in White Sands where they're doing testing probably. June 29th of June, so we know that the phenomenon was peaking, right, or almost peaking around that time. A few days after Kenneth Arnold's sighting. And June 29th, there was multiple people near Las Cruces. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. Oh, it's near of course, it was near the V2 firing grounds. Okay, so they're near a test site. They noticed the subject device and called attention to the other occupants. So these are experts involved in testing the most state-of-the-art device humanity had, other than a
with the most advanced optics possible, because they have to track where this thing is going.
Yeah, they have a spectrograph scientist, a telemetering supervisor. These are high-end people, NRL rocket, section and stuff like that. These are experts. They're saying something's in the air near a sensitive site. They're making official reports. They're being investigated. This can't be covered up, man. It's something happened. We have all the documents now. They're very easily accessible. So let's go back. You see how quickly I found that. I'm even trying here. This is trivial. So yeah, we're let's go forward a little bit. You'll see a lot of those reports in there. By the way, if we searched for different phrases like unidentified aerial object, unidentified object, blah blah blah, there's a zillion phrases. The military loves to change their phrases. It doesn't work. We figure it out. Sooner or later, it leaks what the phrases are, and then we just pop it into the list. Here's another report here. Let's check this one out. Okay, so this is Blue Book related. Blue Book's just catch-all. It might be Project Sign or Grudge. Let's see what we got here, man. Okay, we're doing UFO research live, Sean, on your show.
Alaska, 58.
Unidentified vicinity of UB. Not sure what UB is. Unidentified. No, I don't know. This is unclassified. August 5th, 47. So this is just a little while after the flap. Okay, there's a report attached. The saucer ahead of them. They flying. The pilot first sighted the saucer ahead of them. It was silhouetted against a bright evening sky. Blah 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 blah. So you could read. This was a serious situation. These things buzzed the United States, and they were witnessed by military and aviation experts, rocket experts, the cream of the crop back then. By the way, to make a report, people need to understand this too. The United States was a very serious country back then. For an expert to go to the military and say, we saw something, they're putting their careers on the line, their reputations on the line, because the military could just go, you guys were drunk, right? You guys were going to get rid of your security clearance. You're smoking, basically the 40s equivalent of smoking crack. It was a very serious country back then. You just don't do this lightly. To do that, you can even get charged back then. It's like, hey, it's a big deal to make that kind of claim. So anyway, there's also
a false report. Yeah, you're making.
Yeah, exactly. Report. But here, notice I did flying saucers. Let's look for flying disc. So that's the alternative phrase used in 47. Just beware that phrase is also abused too. So sometimes flying discs were records. They were actually audio records. And so they had in the early 50s and late 40s, they called them, it was a play on flying saucers. They call them flying discs, where it's actually just records. So you'll get a lot of hits for that. You got to filter them out. And so let's narrow it down by date. We don't want to go back to the 1600s. Now notice I'm narrowing down by date. If I don't do that, we'll get a lot of hits that probably we're not interested in. I would love to be able to search during World War II, but it was so hush-hush back then, and the terminology was not nearly as developed as it was after Kenneth Arnold's sighting. So that's the key. One of the key breakthroughs, from my perspectives, we had two breakthroughs. We had 1896 to 1897, a terminology developed, mystery airship, and then late June 1947, we had terminology developed, flying saucer, flying disc, UFO, UAP, UAO. So humanity started to adapt and actually start using consistent terminology, or reasonably consistent. Okay, so I look for flying disc, and now we're getting a whole bunch. These are Blue Book hits here, some news reports, newspapers, some copyright entries. Anyway, we could go on and on, but this one's interesting. I know exactly this. I recognize this one. Yeah, so this is the FBI, their UFO file one. This is one of the most popular. They say this file here is one of the most popular files on their entire website for their FOIA section or whatever. So there's actually some fascinating things in here. And one of my takeaways, and things I haven't talked about much publicly because I'm still figuring it out. If you sit down and go through the literally thousands of hits just for 47, there's from memory, there's around 10 to 15,000 hits right now, and it climbs all the time. What you'll notice is there are a lot of hoaxes like this. But if you read the reports, if you sit down and read the reports, a lot of them are mysterious. They're actually very strange and dangerous. So, for example, there were many reports of strange, small metallic discs dropping from the sky, and they remind me of Charles Fort, a famous author who compiled newspaper clippings of anomalous incidents in the 1800s, 1900s, early 1900s. There were a lot of these discs dropped from the sky. They would land in either backyard or they would damage a roof. They would land in a big sound and sometimes a blue light. So how do you hoax that? I don't know, but it happens. It's reported all through the newspaper or clippings. My personal opinion is this, is that there were a lot of hoaxes because there was hoaxers. There's kids charging 25 cents or 5 cents, whatever, at the time, just to see, a disc and stuff like that. There's reports in the FBI archives about that. However, my personal opinion is that I think it's complicated. I think that it's multiple layers. I think that there were actual hoaxes. It's possible that there was a containment strategy deployed to diffuse the situation on the official side. And it's possible that they were, I'll call them collaborators. I'm using that term loosely in quotes. There were people that were purposely throwing these things around and making a big ruckus to spread, to lower the signal noise ratio. That's my personal gut feeling after looking at literally thousands of these things. And there's actually I found this whole report on a lot of the hoaxes that were found, and they're actually fascinating. When I first started doing this research, I would ignore the hoaxes. I was like, it's a hoax. I don't want to get involved in that. I found when you're doing this research, you must save everything, no matter what. Save it, because it could be valuable. Maybe not in the minutia, but in the macro sense. One hoax is just a hoax. 10 hoaxes? Well, probably 10 hoaxes. 100 of them? 200 of them? Wait a second. Is that a... So there's one report of one of these discs were found by a machine shop guy, someone good at, making stuff with metal. And he said there was no way this disc that he found during the summer of 47 flap was not made in a machine shop. He's like, there's no way this was machined by someone who knew what they were doing. It wasn't just some kids throwing discs around. So anyway, yeah. It's going back. That's that FBI file we found here. You can see, what's really neat about this topic is, as you research it, you'll get pulled into each era, and you'll learn how people talked, what people thought was important, their culture, what was in radio, TV, and it's actually really valuable to figure out how to get yourself in their heads and how did they think, so you can interpret what you're reading. That actually is extremely important. You cannot use early 21st century mind or perspective on 47 reports. You have to put yourself back then and think what is likely to have happened. So for example, if a pilot makes a report in 47, it winds up in newspapers. And then a day or two later, it's retracted. And he says, we were just gassing and we were drinking. Hold on. And then then if you read further, you're like, it turns out his boss pressured him to shut up. There was a lot of pressure back then to shut up and just go with the flow, because that was the culture back then. You don't rock the boat. It's just how it is. Shut up. This is causing problems. Just go ahead and just tell me you're lying. It was better to be perceived back in 47. It was better to be seen as a liar and a drunk than someone reporting a UFO or a saucer. Believe it or not. Even if you're a pilot, and I can show you the clippings I have in my Medium. And I find that fascinating. You have to think all these different levels to try to tease through the disinformation that's been spread, throughout the decades. Anyway, and so I searched for flying disc, and you can just see, and this is just archive.org. This is not a newspaper specialty website. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. This was a phenomenon, man. And it was a hysteria too, of course. Here's a Business Week. This is an invaluable resource, archive.org, and you could spend months and years searching it.
What about Orlando, January 1967? Any reports about that?
Okay, Orlando, huh? Hold on. Oh, Jesus. Orlando, you have a date? Anything? That's just January?
January 1967.
All right, let's see what we get. So here's how I do my research, right? I'll start plugging that into various search engines. We'll see what pops up. So let's just reset that guy. First, let's just do a kind of quick. For my database, I have 227 total hits. There's going to be some redundant ones because there's sometimes reports appear in multiple databases. Let's look for. So my database is not geocoded yet, so I have to just type in phrases. See what pops up. So we do have a report. 1/16/67, 4:30 p.m. or AM. Sorry, sodium vapor clouds from rocket launch at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Blue-green color visible over wide area. So we have a rocket launch there. Let's go to UPDP because that probably would trigger some false UAP reports. Let's see here. Let's search. And so you want January. And you want USA. This is a bigger database. So mine's about 55,000 total, and this one's 350-some thousand. Okay, so we have 6 reports. Oh, all right, let's see. We have some Blue Book reports. Wow. One witness for over 60 minutes. You wanted Orlando, though. Here we go. That's interesting. So we have Jan 5th, Orlando. Now we're going to go further. This is just the beginning. Star-like object was observed and photographed, and an unidentified object moving in a straight trajectory across the sky was observed by a male witness. Okay. Now this is in 67. This is satellites would have been a thing. Let's do some more searching. So the error would be unidentified flying object error. So by 67, flying saucers was kind of old-timer. Now, we do have a problem. We can't easily search for just UFO, but we can do search for that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do all of Florida. Oh, I gotta log in. I'm sorry, guys. Why am I required to do this? Hold on. Long browser, guys. We're winging this. All right. We got 104 matches. January 11th. Let's see what this one is. Michigan. So somebody took a photo. Who knows? Might be true. Might be fake. Who the hell knows? Let me clip it. So this is what I do. As soon as I find, no matter what I find, I clip it. Make a clipping for later. Clipping. Anyway, let's see what we can find here. So you want Orlando. What's this? Okay, let's look at the Benny. Looks like a mention here. A TV show. 40%. One out of every 40 Americans.
We got the Beatles.
We got the Beatles. Is that the Joker? Yes. It's a Joker.
Yeah, from old school Batman. Anyway, sorry.
Joker,
Focus.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's sort this by date. Let's boil it down to Orlando too. Is there any reason why we're searching for this?
Yeah, there's one of the listeners viewers.
Okay. Well, I don't care.
Let's find.
Let's see what's in there. Maybe there's something interesting here. Oh, what's this? We got something. UFO investigators. If you see any UFOs, remember. It looks like Nightcat. Let's get that second. Don't take that. Sorry, guys. I'm making a clipping. All right, let's keep looking. We're doing UFO research in real time. What's this? We have Betty, another article about Betty Hill. That's the abduction, famous abduction. Strangers give the Hills weird medical examination. They call them strangers since '67.
Strangers.
Well, I mean, it's a strangers, right? They're not aliens.
Others, yeah, others.
Betty. I'm misspelling Barney. Yeah, so there looks like an interview with it looks like Betty and Barney Hill and stuff, and there's like I guess a hypnosis and stuff like that. So probably a 2-page. Let's see the next one. Look at it. So back in '67, this was by the way, this was mainstream. This wasn't like just obscure guys in their basements playing WoW and reading about UAPs. No, this was actually like it was all over. There was comics. It was front page news, like all kinds of stuff. Here we have an abduction. This is an abduction related, thing, which today would be considered very, kind of out there, maybe a little bit on the woo side. Yeah, back then it's just, everyday mag. It's Orlando Sentinel. That's cool. Let's see what else we find. Got something here. What's this? So kind of Red Secrets. So the Soviets.
Soviets.
The Russians. What's this? Word filtered out of East Germany that there had been reports of unidentified flying objects sighted. Well, we're going to get that one. Don't know what that is, but you never know. Let's get that one. What's this picture? You can see, like, this is like a crawl through history. Soviet transmission. He's listening to the Soviets. That's pretty cool. So basically, we just had a newspaper article where the dude is tuning into Soviet transmissions and they're picking up UFO reports. And by the way, in '67, the Soviets their scientists, their astronomers did say they were seeing UFOs, and that appeared in Western newspapers. I posted some of those. So anyway, let's see. This is Vali, I think. Really small print. Jacques and Janine Vallée, a serious study of the sightings of flying saucers or UFOs that have been reported throughout the world. So he's a mathematician, astronomer, and his wife is a psychologist and data analyst. Well, that's interesting. Just a little, what is it, like a book or something? Yeah, so there's a little book announcement. We'll make that clip. Why not? So that's historical. Yeah, now this kind of information is actually, sometimes you just want to know, well, when did the book come out exactly? Sometimes that's important. What was the response to the book? Things like that. How was it reviewed? Oh, we got something. What is this? Orlando Evening Star. Okay, what's this? Where is this? UFO startles woman in Lake County. Hold on. Yeah, another obviously a useful research aid would be Lake County, Florida. I'm just assuming that's yeah. All right, so this is a county near Orlando. Looks like we found something. Jan 24th, 67.
Well, I don't know my geography about Florida, but where's Gulf Breeze in relation to Orlando?
Great question. Yeah, you got to forgive me. I visited Florida sometimes, but we got to look. Let's see here. It's northwestern, very high up there. Didn't really realize that.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Near Pensacola.
Yeah, on the Panhandle.
There was a big flap there. Was that the 80s? Big flap, I think.
Yeah, I think it's associated with like Stephen Greer and stuff like that.
Well, but I think there was a flap though, like pre Stephen Greer. If I remember, let's look it up. Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there was in 1988 on the UFO Cover Up Live TV special, they had Gulf Breeze people there live. And also, if I remember right, Bob Exler went there in person. Yeah, there's like Bob, NASA physicist, I was a mission specialist, Bob Exler. Yeah, we have a bunch of early 90s reports. Like I was saying, there was some sort of flap, Gulf Breeze, 1990, military jets chase dome saucer. There you go. That's very 50s, by the way. That's 1990, though. There's all kind. You can see right here, like, so far, all I've been able to do is just get all the text in and normalize the text. The next steps will be to geocode all of this to get that narrow it down to latitude, longitude accurately or reasonably accurately, and then get it mapped. I just haven't had the time, and I got to this point where now that it's searchable, it's like, okay, this is useful to me. But you can see Gulf Breeze, Florida, over and over again. Engineering family, just tons and tons of reports, all kinds of shit. So
engineering family, what's that about?
Standard GB saucer over trees. That's shorthand for something. Shoreline Park. It's in a book. 510-88. Now, what's interesting, you can see these reports here and the dates, and you can go in the newspapers and try to find any associated articles, and sometimes you do find them. Some guys claim to be abducted in Gulf Breeze in 88. Like, you'll see there's flaps, and when the phenomena spikes, whatever the phenomena is, it shows up as all of these different reports from all these different people, from sometimes high quality people making reports. Anyway, let's go back to this Orlando thing just to see what is this report. Okay, Silver Lake Drive in Silver Lake. So where is Silver Lake? Florida. All right, there's Silver Lake, right here. Near Orlando. 6 a.m. and saw a big ball of fire going down in the west over Silver Lake. So it's a brilliant reflection in the lake and remained in view for about 3 minutes. So it's a 3-minute sighting. So I don't know, would a meteor last 3 minutes?
No.
She talked to a neighbor and adding that he saw a multiple person sighting, perfectly round and a bright orange, about half again as big as the sun, when it's low in the sky in the west. She didn't say anything.
I've actually seen one of those before.
Yeah, I'll clip it. I don't know if this is really UAP, but it did wind up in newspapers, and so let's clip it. Because the thing is, there could be other reports, and you can always correlate them against it, So it's an interesting one. It's 3 minutes long. It doesn't sound like a satellite. And there's Saigon right there. And my father was going to Nam. Why have you been in Nam around this time? There you go, man. Supply boat blasted. Oh, shit. Well, anyway, there you go. There's that one. Let's see what else we can find. This is just Orlando. Okay, wait. We got Orlando Evening Star. Oh, we got more. Yeah, hold on. Okay, so this is a larger article. Okay, let's see what this is. Okay, so he got after a flurry of telephone calls to the Sentinel Star's Metropolitan Desk report earlier this week, their roving reporter drifted out to the Colonial Plaza Mall to ask people. So basically, they sent the reporter out after getting a bunch of calls. And that was this is January 21st. So they were just talking to people. One guy said, "I think they come from both Earth and space. We can't be the only form of life in the universe." Blah blah blah. So this is just kind of like a special interest right there. Let's see what else we can find. Yeah, what else are we searching for? Florida, Orange County, Orlando. Okay. So that was interesting though. They received a flurry of calls, so something was seen, is what it sounds like. That is interesting. Oh, we got a Heineck hit. UFO photos held authentic. Yeah, like no one human could collect all these clippings. It's literally impossible. There's so many hits. People don't realize the scale of this phenomenon. It's off the charts. We're kind of in amnesia. over it. Okay, it looks like two photos snapped by two Michigan teenagers appeared authentic. And that's there's some quotes from Heineken there. That's interesting. He said that the striking thing to me is the similarity these pictures have to other photos I have seen, and also to verbal descriptions I've taken from ostensibly reliable people.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. To the best of my recollection, even the antenna shown on the back has been previously reported, as has the tail structure. So he's now commenting about antennas.
The antenna shown on the back?
Yeah, Heineken. Dr. Heineken says in 67.
I've never heard about a UFO having an antenna. That's the first time I've ever heard something like that.
Let's look for antenna. Let's do it. Let's check it out.
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting hit, man.
All right, we're just going to do for anything hit. Okay, yeah, 371 hits with the word antenna. And so, let's see. All right. Okay, this is 2007. Circular object hovered low over the witness's barn for 60 minutes in Pennsylvania, starting around 7 p.m. It had white lights that did not blink and a white antenna that moved back and forth. And let's just go back in time. Yeah, there's beings wearing helmets with antennas. It's over. We could spend hours going through all these. Like, here you go. This is in 1994 in Italy. Small humanoid or gray spaceship on rocky shore. Small antenna on the side of the helmet. Yeah, antennas do appear, man. That's from Heineken himself, right? You can see clearly, like, the word antenna is used over and over. Let's do this. Hold on. Now, let's do. I have deeper. This is the search engine where you can just type in a phrase. It's a basic search engine. It's really like in a text editor, hitting find. But I actually have this entire chronology, this entire database in HTML form. And I also have it in quick index form, which is an older way of doing searching. And so let's look for all words starting with A. This is let's get this in Firefox. So yeah, okay. So an antenna. So let's look at every instance of the word antenna. Here you go. And so what's interesting about this is that antenna, you can now see the context. This is sorted by date. This is valuable. So there's 196 instances that it found with the word antenna in there. And so raise, shoot, antenna base. Like, it's just used over. A lot of these are just UFO reports. Long antenna, kind of antenna, low gain antenna. I don't know what that one is. That might not be reported. More like astronomy. It had an antenna. It carried an antenna bearing a flashing red light. That was in 66. Anyway, you see, look at all the instances of the antenna.
I wonder if this is like a classified U.S. anti-gravity program.
Yeah, I don't know. Or it's all the above. Or it's a phenomena and somebody's up to something with classified tech. Who knows? I don't have enough information to rule any of it out. Dome saucer with antenna over school. It's just, anyway, that's interesting. I didn't know Heineken said that. So there you go. It was in 67.
I mean, it could be, depending on the year, right? It could be deliberate disinformation. Right.
Yeah. But the thing is, I would say,
when did he go good?
I think he went. This is rough. I think he went good mid 70s or to 80s.
And when was this antenna article?
This is 67. However, just saw. Hold on. Here's the deal. We have reports mentioning the word antenna going back decades before 67 from people all over the world. And so I'm not so sure about that. If it is disinformation, it is the most effective disinformation program ever. And I want to know who set up. They're likely dead now.
Well, no, I just mean that particular incident.
Yeah, right? I mean, that could be Heineken just blowing smoke up our asses. But I don't think so.
So if somebody mentions an antenna on a craft, it probably means they're making it up. I mean, I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying that would be the use 60s, case for that.
In the mid to late 60s, there was this period. Remember, that was the Condon Committee at University of Colorado, Dr. Condon. There was a little bit of openness to the phenomena peaked out, both on the Soviet side and the U.S. side. And so in this case, I think Heineken is just saying what's being reported to him. I mean, that's all he's reporting. He's just saying people reported antennas. He's not saying there really were antennas, right? I doubt he would lie about the reports. However,
is there any way that you can correlate where you're seeing like reports with antennas? In other words, hear me out.
I have the data, but I don't have the.
If there were a secret program that the U.S. had, right, they would correlate or cluster in a particular location.
Yeah, and so I don't have that ability. I don't have anything geocoded, right? I just have text. I don't have latitude and longitude, and however, others have done that work, but the tools that you're referring to, I don't believe are available in the open public domain or open source yet. So not to the extent, not at a professional level anyway, not like at a really useful level. Like I just searched. What's really weird? That's strange. I should find many more hits. Oh, I'm going through. I've limited it. Stand by. Okay, so let's look for antenna. Let's see how many hits show up in UPDB's database. It's going to get a lot. Oh, it's still limited to Florida. Stand by. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, so it has 884 reports with the word antenna. The most recent's in 2023. Go. Let's check that one out from MoveBomb. So tic-tac-like shape object hovering around a cloud. Oh, we actually have media. Looks like an image. The typical image, a blob. Who knows? Restricted. It was so. This is a UAP flying restricted airspace near Harry Reid International Airport. Interesting. So basically,
where is Harry Reid International Airport? Is that what used to be McCarran?
Sorry, Phil. No, I've heard of it.
It's in Las Vegas.
I think so.
Yeah, if it's in Las Vegas, it used to be McCarran.
Yeah, it's Las Vegas. Yeah, that would be near.
Yeah, it used to be. It used to be called McCarran Air Force or McCarran Airport, but it changed.
Okay, so second picture is of the tic-tac. So this is a recent report, very recent. Flying restricted airspace, eastern boundary and eastern sunset. So that's interesting. 2 sightings. Where's the antenna though? Oh, here it is. I also saw a donut-shaped object camouflaged in the clouds, and it had an antenna that looked like a football goalpost jutting out of it. All right, there you go, man.
Wait. So this was observed near McCarran, or sorry, near Harry Reid Air Force Base, or sorry, Harry Reid Airport.
Yeah, the second one, he claims it was in restricted airspace near Harry Reid International Airport.
So Nellis Air Force Base is out there, and Area 51 is.
And that could be ours.
Out there.
This is.
That's what I'm saying. If you see antenna on it, it's probably ours.
Yeah, and so we're just poking around here. So UPDP will have very recent reports. My database just after 2000 just drifts. There's not much. I don't have any drifts off. And I'm cool with that because we have UPDP for the more up to date stuff. So you can see we can just go on and on and on. There's all kinds of shit. What's this? Mansfield, Massachusetts. This is September 2022. So this is a big report here. It's multiple pages.
What's the gist of it?
He's been taking pictures of objects in the sky with the camera on his phone, blinking star-like objects. He said he noticed an object hovering over my parents' home. Hovering. That's interesting. They look identical. So he said the probability or possibility of people flying drones these days is quite high. I don't know. He basically was seeing, it sounds to me like drones, at least at first. But these had other sightings where they seem to zigzag. Yeah, dude, you could get lost in these databases.
Mm-hmm.
He says they're seeing them every night.
And they could very well be drones.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, what I've learned, personally, it's like when you see something almost everything in the sky is explainable, right? It's going to be a plane or a drone or even a balloon. Like around here, people like the light. I don't know what they're called. They put candles in them or whatever. They put little LEDs in or something. It's like a Mylar balloon. They put it up in the sky for fun. All kinds of shit. So most of it, and it's well known, right? Most reports, generally speaking, on average, probably 95% are going to be just whatever, right? But here's what I want to say. There's a caveat to that. In certain time periods, like summer of 47, or say July 52, or 57, whatever, there's peaks. I think the probabilities shift during those peaks. So, for example, if somebody's near White Sands, New Mexico, in June or July 47, and they're experts, and they say, "Oh, we saw these objects." Well, yeah, we have tons of them. So the probability that that's not ours is pretty high, I think. Yeah. Anyway, we have all kinds of reports all over the world mentioning antenna. So anyway, what else should we do, Sean? I'm getting kind of tired, man. We've been on for a while.
How about occupants?
Okay, let's check it out. That's a good one. Let's see. Let's search mine. Oh, hold on. First, I'm going to search newspapers. What should we search for? Flying saucer occupant. We got to try to predict what would editors use. What would the people use?
Well, it depends on the time period. If it's like the 50s, it's like
some.
spacemen or something.
We don't have much for flying saucer occupant. We have one from 69. Hundreds of people all over the world now claim to have actually met and conversed with the, quote, flying saucer, unquote, occupants. UFOnauts. So there's an article. It's a big one. Saucers sweep South America. So there's a South American wave. We're going to get that clipping. Scores of low-level sightings. And even brief landings reported in Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, and Venezuela. Interesting. So it's summer of 67. England had a wave. Spanish Air Force had a wave. Yeah, this is not a U.S.-only thing. There's another Heineck reference here. Swedish delegate revealed that the National Defense Research Institute in Sweden had launched a UFO study program in response to public pressure. This is 69. Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, it's in the 60s, the public had seemed to reach a form of acceptance that the phenomenon existed and that the authorities were not revealing everything they knew. Let me show you this. So just to give you an idea, like how common and how culturally accepted saucers were back in the day. Look at these. So these are not all of them. Hold on. These are, let's see what I do. Okay. So these are comics I started collecting. Okay, for example, this is 1950, June 1950. And what it's about is, it's about crash retrievals. So here you go. Secret Agent X9, quote, "Wait, all this stuff looks authentic. These photos of crashed saucers and the pictures of the tiny saucermen. Do we want foreign agents to latch onto this stuff? Sure, Phil. But I saw 2 of the saucermen alive. This is the top drawer secret info. Maybe you saw 2 live saucer pilots, and maybe we did it with mirrors to condition you for this job." So it's just a comic. "Tell me straight, is all this just a propaganda hoax? I'm not at liberty to say, Phil, but you're at liberty to sell the stuff to Miss K. Summer." Anyway, this emerged in, popular culture big time in the 50s. Like crash retrievals, especially in 1950. They were not, they were well known. This was not a secret. It just goes on and on and on. Let's see. I searched my own clippings for the word comic, and I wanted to show you this. Okay, so in 60, 67, 68, around that time period, there's a famous comic named Otto Binder. He invented, from memory serves me correctly, he was involved in like Superman, Superwoman comics. He's really well known in the comic world. He also was a contractor for NASA. He would like do comics and stuff, and illustrations and things. And so he had this cool UAP comic. And here's one here. And he basically illustrated what was going on. And this would appear, these articles would appear, like, let's give you an idea, right next to just normal things in newspapers. Like, this is the comic page, word game. There's a flying saucer, backyard landing. Flying saucers are known to land in narrow spaces where even helicopters would not dare to descend. Operating on some unknown electromagnetic field propulsion, the UFOnaut pilots can guide their craft with absolute precision. That's pretty precise. Yeah. Anyhow, there's some cool books on Otto Binder. He led a tragic life, unfortunately. His whole family, I would say, tragedy struck. I think it was in the late 70s. The guy who made this comic, by a certain time, his wife was dead. He was dead, and his child got ran over. Like, it was bad. It was a really sad story.
He's probably getting too close.
Yeah, it's really sad. Yeah, and so this is called the Our Space Age comic. Okay, January 3rd, 1968, Belgrade. Over 3,000 witnesses watched 3 cylindrical UFOs, some 50 to 60 feet long, that glowed a deep red or hovered over the city for 20 minutes, allowing photos to be taken that Yugoslav officials are studying. So, saucer scoop, George Fawcett. Interesting. It just goes on and on. This is an endless, bottomless topic. What's this? Oh, this looks like Sasquatch. What does this do? Okay, wait, hold on. This is a funky one. Michigan. UFO Robots and Monsters 2. August 1965, near Monroe, Michigan. Unconfirmed is the story of Christine Van Acer, who claimed she and her mother were menaced by a 7-foot shaggy monster man who had apparently landed in a flying saucer. There you go, man. Yeah, there you go.
Bigfoot and UFOs.
Shaggy man. That is it. It's a shaggy man. Yeah, so this comic's actually really good. You know what's cool about this comic? I've plugged this comic's these illustrations into DALL-E and other AI image generators. These are seed images, and the results are incredible. And then I take the results and put them on UFO Twitter for fun. August 19th, 49, the Mojave Desert. 2 prospectors were startled to see a flying saucer crash land. Then 2 small humanoids dash out among the sand dunes, where the witness could not find them again. And actually, that is a story. That's in the lore deeply. That something crashed and then 2 small occupants crawl out. I wonder what happened to them. Yeah, anyhow.
Probably picked up by somebody.
They phoned home, or we got them. Maybe we got them. You know what I mean?
How come that never happened when I lived in the Mojave Desert? I spent like 4 years there, and nothing like that happened to me.
What's this? Okay, Seattle Flap, EM Tricks. This is 68, I think. Pilot reports that as the 9 this sounds like Kenneth Arnold. 9 dis over this is something different. 9 dis over Seattle approaches plane. His clock stopped and his compass swirling crazily from 130 to 300 degrees. Typical quote electromagnetic effects from UFOs. So just so you know, the stuff I'm reading is in comics and newspapers all over the country. Like I only collected a few, but they're easily found. Just look for Otto Binder in the late 60s. Here's what I would love to have is all of these comics in one compilation, but somebody'd have to track down the copyright.
What's Otto Binder's background? Would he have had knowledge of this stuff?
Oh yeah, he published several books with a friend on UAPs and related topics. This man was really.
But was he like national security intelligence adjacent at all?
He did work with NASA for a bit. Worked for them, I should say. He has a Wikipedia entry, so this guy's famous. He's the co-creator of the Supergirl comic. Wrote manuscript for Captain Marvel Adventures. Let's see here. He wrote thousands of stories and comics. He started in the 30s. Wow. So in amazing stories and stuff like that. This guy was extremely prolific. I have a whole book of him here with his work. Books. Yeah, he was also a big proponent of ancient astronaut theory. His books are fascinating. They're written in they're very deep, kind of slow reads. I really like them. His Binder's theory was that human beings are Homo hybrid, an interstellar crossbreed, half human, half extraterrestrial. He first discussed this hypothesis in his 1968 book, Flying Saucers Are Watching Us, later called Unsolved Mystery from the Past. Anyhow, he has a big, you can see this guy's well known. He has a big Wikipedia entry here. He unfortunately, he died in 1974. Really, that's what I was saying, really sad story.
It's amazing how quickly these people are forgotten, but they have
utterly forgotten. Yeah. But if you go to Amazon, you can see his UAP books you can still get them. at least used. And yeah, he's totally forgotten. Although at the time, he had these comics published. He first started just publishing space related comics, which was the space age, right? That's why it's called Our Space Age. And then he started to cover UAPs in his comics. What's this one? Okay, UFO blasters, Soviet saucers. So here he's covering. This is really advanced for 66, by the way, super advanced to cover anything Soviet related and for UAPs. And an unidentified place in Russia, a hovering UFO sent down rays that caused a plant making heavy war tanks to explode. It's like Soviet reports of enemy UFOs.
Wait, is this an actual report or is he just making this up?
No, this is real. I mean, real meaning he was told this or learned of this from somebody. By the way, there are weird UFO reports from the Soviet Union. I never know what to make of them. But keep in mind, in the late...
Or reports that these guys actually, craft actually destroyed a tank manufacturing plant?
Let's look. I don't know. By the way, just so you know, I'm kind of holding back. There are some reports from the Soviet Union in the early 80s over, I can't pronounce it, Baikonur Cosmodrome. Let me show you that. Cosmodrome. Is it Cosmodrome? Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know about that specific report. However, there are exotic, strange reports that came out of Russia or Soviet Union. So the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. 2 UFOs allegedly hover above the Cosmodrome for 14 seconds. One of them directly above launch pad number 1. This is 1982. On June 2nd, this is the weird thing. On June 2nd, bolts and rivets are found that supposedly have been sucked out of the support towers and welded sections have come apart. The other UFO hovers above the adjacent housing complex, knocking out thousands of panes of glass or making fine holes in them. The Cosmodrome is said to be put out of action for 2 weeks. So it seems like, I don't know if this is, first of all, the first red flag for me is, if that really happened, I think it would take longer for the Soviets than 2 weeks to repair it. It's the Soviet Union, right? So, but hey, by the way, I did track the literature down for this, and it does appear in the literature, the lore, and you could research it more. So I'd have to go to archive.org to find that. But yeah, this appears in multiple chronologies. By the way, the Baikonur Cosmodrome incident, it's in a whole bunch. Yeah, the Soviets were having their own problems. That's well known, by the way. The Soviets did have problems. Did they have shit blown up? Let's see. Well, this is the Cold War, right? We might have been spreading. This could be U.S. intelligence. This could be
Isn't there some story where they these guards fired upon occupants, and the occupants got pissed and turned them to stone?
Yes.
Have you heard this story?
Yes, I've heard the story.
We got to look it up. We got to look it up because no one will believe I'm making this. I think I'm making this up.
Let's look up. First, let's look at mine. Let me see what mine has.
We should take our time on this one because it's fascinating.
I'm just look for all Russia 1960, 67. Let's see how many we got. We got 94 results. Yeah, so we do have a trickle of reports. Let's look 67. We got a lot for 67. Saucer buzzes airliner. Yeah, a whole bunch of reports emerged. Yeah, so Dr. Felix Ziegel, who was their main UFO guy in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, he said this in newspapers that, and in one of his other papers, that the Soviets first started tracking UAPs on radar in 47. Yeah, I don't know how we find this one exactly. Let's look for USSR. No, we're getting nuke tests now. Look for Russia. I'm getting yeah, I really don't know what to search for here. Phil Kloss. So in my database, I have everything there. I have rumors, debunkers, just anything. I got U-2 spy plane stuff, just all kinds of shit. Let's look for 1965. Let's narrow it down to 1966. All right, I'm trying to narrow it down here. Let's go back to the newspaper article. And so this is September 10th, 66.
Somebody's saying it was a CIA document that revealed the Russian incident.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to find that one in mine. If it's assuming I even have it in there, I have a lot of these Russian reports. Most of them just like saw something in the sky. Here's one. This is kind of interesting. 8/2/65. The crew of the Russian steamship Raduga in the Red Sea watch a fiery sphere emerge from the water. Anything in the water is interesting, causing an enormous pillar of water to rise and collapse. I doubt that's a balloon. It hovers above the surface at an altitude of 490 feet. A motorboat sees it. Object shoots straight up, and the boat is hit by a strong wave that overturns it. There you go. That's a good one. Russia's USO secrets.
I found it.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah. Let me share. Hold on. Let me just get it close. All right. Let me just remove yours. Just give me a second. Share screen. There we go. Let's make sure everybody can see that. All right. You see that?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just. All right. And
now that you have this up, this is okay. This is Mishap Cosmic Revenge. I could probably find this in my database.
All right. As you're looking, I'm just going to read through this so people can watch it. All right. So let's see. So Russia International paper reports alleged evidence on mishap involving UFO Kiev, Holos, Ukraine. So this is like 1993. So after Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved, and so it's not Soviet Union, this is Russia. In 1991, the KGB top secret intelligence administration, a lot of material from that department found their way abroad, in particular to the CIA. As reported by the authoritative magazine Canadian Weekly World News. Canadian Weekly World News. Let's keep that in mind. The U.S. intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the events. One of the CIA representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of revenge on the part of UFO or of extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, someone unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive I love it, that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned
I found the report, by the way. I found it in a French chronology.
Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institute near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. A CIA representative stated, quote, "If the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technologies that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked." No shit.
Yeah, I found this report. I think it's on 10/13/87. That's the date I have. This is from a French chronology.
All right, let me.
Soviet troops in Siberia flying fired at 8:35 during their retreat maneuvers at a low altitude.
Do you have it up? Do you have it up?
I have something that sounds like it. The surviving aliens retaliated by killing 23 Russian soldiers. Is that the one?
Yeah, 23 is the right number.
Yeah, the UFO report contains 250 pages of testimony from 2 soldiers who mysteriously survived the attack. So this is from a French chronology that I translated with OpenAI. There's actually claims there's a photo of the accident site. What do you
There's
make
a photo?
I don't know. Yeah, it says there's a dramatic photo of the accident site there in the report. The thing is,
all right. Also, I think we might have some firsthand video about something else that's a little bit more recent. So let me send. Just give me a second. I'm probably gonna let one more person on, and you can just watch the show on this one.
Yeah.
Hold on, just give me a second. I just have to send them the link. I am pretty slow on this, but okay. No, but keep going, because he still has to get the link, and then
So I have a summary of that incident.
Yeah, let's go through it really quick, and then as soon as Gray Owl.
The deal is the French have an interesting perspective on UAPs. They have like official government reporting agencies, I think, to this day. The French intelligence is known to be very active in this space. So I went and I found all the French chronologies I can get my hands on in public. One's by Godlieve Overmere, who's passed away. And she reported that this occurred on 10/13. I think this is the same incident, 10/13/87. Soviet troops.
Yeah. The report that I had, I think, was referring to like a Canadian Weekly World News report that corroborated that the CIA had this 250-page report. So so that was kind of just likely the CIA was just a heads up, it's leaked. So that was 93, but it sounds like the actual was during the Cold War in the Soviet Union.
To put this in perspective, there is a book, a very well-known book, which I've translated to English, called UFO Glasnost. And this is written by a famous Soviet aviator. And in this book, this is like right as the Soviet Union is collapsing. Here it is, by Dr. Marina Popovich. She's a one of their most famous aviators.
All right, and we got Gray Owl.
What's Gray Owl?
Gray Owl is he's got a firsthand video.
Oh, cool.
Do you know who Rob Heatherly is?
Yes, he's the Wikipedia guy. The guy who's investigating Wikipedia on Twitter, or is that somebody else?
Yeah, he vouches for Gray Owl. He actually did on this site. So Gray Owl's been taking a lot of kind of firsthand data of entities that have been appearing up in Canada. But let me remove your thing, and then I want to let Gray Owl on. All right, hold on. Okay.
You'll do.
Hey, Gray Owl, can you see me?
Yeah.
Good. You got it. You got it ready?
Yeah. I'm over at the Owl's Nest this time, and my internet connection's not as good here for uploading. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Everybody can hear you. You're live.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I have this video that shows like exactly. Some pictures should have showed up to you by now or whatever. But
yeah, I've seen those. I can.
It's like stuck at 82% uploaded to my YouTube channel. So I figured if I could play it on my computer, if you share my screen or something, if you want to see it. Or
I can share. Yeah, sure.
It's all ready to go. Like it's already.
Yeah, share your screen. Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
you got to share your screen. You'll see a thing that says present.
Yeah, let me just.
You click on that, and then you go to share screen.
Yeah, okay, and then I'm gonna launch it in like media. Okay, so I can do whatever. I'll be on the screen, right? Okay. So
as soon as I see it, I'll put it up.
Yeah, it's just an MP4 or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna hit present video file right now. Oh, you guys are gonna love this. This is fucking nuts. Okay, now I'm just gonna find it. Here it is. And look, it's my artistic license. Like I usually do, like some just little clip from Back to the Future or whatever. This just it's like 2 seconds of just how I introduced the video, but then it just goes to X-rays.
Yeah. Can you fast forward?
What? So is this? What is this video?
Oh, it's like, okay, well, whatever. Just, yeah, I can do that or whatever. But let me just. These are you make up your own mind what you think they're. Hang on.
All right, let me know once you.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it.
So,
All right, but
This is a mystery video. We don't know what to.
Yeah.
Well, you're not gonna show any like Back to the Future stuff, right? Because I don't want to get
copyright strikes.
Okay. Oh yeah. No. Okay. So there's like there's just a clip from the original Mad Max.
What are you getting me involved in? What are you guys getting me involved in? What's going on here?
No, just skip it. Like it's like.
All right. Why don't you just introduce what the video is going to be, and then just start there. Don't start with any copyright material.
Okay. Well, I can't even see the video. Like I launched it, but I don't. Oh, let me just make sure. I don't think I have control.
Just so the viewers know, I have no idea what this is. No idea.
Yeah. So just move it like 30 seconds. Or do you have control of it?
Apparently, 30 seconds.
Okay, right on. Well, yeah. Like he just, and then it'll flip right over just as soon as he goes by here. Okay, now this is going into the video.
Right here?
You see? Yeah. Let it go.
Okay. Let me go back. Oh, what the heck?
Look at that! Check out this cat's eyes, man.
I'm trying to like get it perfect. Yeah. Right here.
Sean, I think I'm gonna step out. I gotta eat, man. I'm tired.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Notice. But Gray out. Good luck with your video, man.
All right.
See you later.
All right, I'm gonna hit play.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me know when I should hit play.
Yeah. Hit it.
Wait. Let me. I'm gonna turn off the music because that's where you get copyright strikes too.
Yeah.
What is that?
Okay, that's an X-ray, dude. That's the cat that showed up at my house. And so this is a chick. Well, when I was looking into the Miami aliens, I was like looking around on TikTok for videos and stuff, and this chick, some like backwater chick, says, "Yeah, they talk about all these aliens down in Miami." She's like standing those are really far away. And so you think they're like trees or something across the road. She says, "Does that not look like an alien, a big alien sitting right there?"
What? It looks like a rat. Like it looks like a rat thing or something.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a dinosaur. This thing's huge, man. Look at the white snakes in its eyes. Okay, so this video right now, what you're watching, is playing at under 6% of lower than 6% of the original speed of the video. And look at how he's glitching. Look at that thing.
What is that?
It's a fucking X-ray, bro. That's the cat that knocked on my door. Except he had like those white things coming out all over his face. It's in like flux, man.
When was this taken?
All these other I don't know. Look, I don't have all the answers for you, but this is what it looked like when I was went inside of my house. Like you think, okay, are those fucking trees or something? But they're like moving like that. Where's what's the provenance of this video? Where did it come from? Well, anyways, I guess I have to look up. Like, I just saw this video. I'm like, oh man, that's legit, and I gotta run through the Gray Owl Pipes. Sorry.
Is that the end?
No. Yeah.
Okay, that's not me.
But I would recommend let me get it up on my page so people could just have a good without us commentary, just watch the data that I'm presenting to you. It is bananas, man. It's fucking bananas. You cannot but you're what is that?
Did you record that or did somebody else?
No, I didn't record that. I was pulling. All I do is analyze videos. So I was pulling this under the guise that it was happening. At the time I was researching the Miami Mall incident, and I guess her search result came up in the whatever because I go to. This is the first time I ever went on TikTok. This was back when the Miami thing happened. And I would search for like Miami Mall aliens because that's the only place you could find the videos for that. And so her video came up, I guess, because when she shoots that video, she says they're talking about down in Miami that you think they got aliens down there. But does that not look like a fucking fake great big alien sitting right across the road there? Like she's probably like she's got a huge block backyard that she's zoomed way across the road into like a field or something. But that video shows all of the characteristics that I isolate in my analyses. Whereby
where was she?
Every fucking I don't know. I have no idea. I guess I should look that up.
Yeah.
I it takes a lot of time to do whatever the video. So I started going through. I've got like all these videos I've never even looked at. And that was one of, but the funny thing is, like, okay, so you know what? Because I know what I really, okay, and this is just, and I'm not trying to pull some scam or anything like that. What I really should look up is, because surely I have that, if I had seen that video, even without running it through the analyses, could that have triggered my experience? Like, I got to find out when I acquired that video, which I should be able to do, I think.
Yeah, you should be able to find
in relation to when the event, my visit took place or whatever. So,
well, I mean, you might get a visit if
no, or maybe like seeing it, you know, God, it's triggered a psychological episode in my head or something. But look, and I'm not going to argue on that vein because that's not what interests me. Like, I'm not here to debate the bunkers or anything like that. Anyone's allowed to look at that video, but I'm not going to get into an argument about whether it's because my experience.
Right, people can make up their own minds. Right.
What you saw there, and that's just one cat. Like, if you look at what's going on around that guy, it's fucking bananas. But the whole point of this was just to get as rich. Is that like a? And usually what I do in my videos too is like I cycle because I just use like basic software, but you can like flip it back to the original view of the video and then how you've like whatever, you know, brightness and contrast you've done and everything like that. But I've added nothing to it. The sequence of my real, what I believe to be like one of the sort of keys to the universe of the way this data can be observed is with its lens. It's like you were saying with light. It has to be lensed through an optical filter. Right. So even just like, and just try. Okay, so those still images that I sent you of this guy, because I was just taking screen grabs through it, right? And he never looks the same, really. He kind of does, but he doesn't. And if you pull up when you go and pull up one of those images. Like just whenever you go to look at them, just get yourself a magnifying glass and look at it through the magnifying glass. And like you can like almost look on the other side of the guy. It's nuts. Like you'll see those white snakes coming right out of his. But the other thing that's really wackadoo about this stuff is, and that's what to my point about this paradoxical state that there's like, especially with this field, like there's always some. Okay, so if you look carefully enough at those photographs or any of these really weird anomalous events, like Vegas, you'll get to the point where you're like, okay, I think I can actually see like two solid, because it's all fluxing like that. Everything's going bananas. No, I think I see like these two solid figures. You're like, okay, right on, I'm making progress. But then if you look at the space in between those two figures, it's like a figure of someone. It's like an entity. And it melts your brain about looking at it the other way. You're like, what the hell is going on here? It's just so impossible. Like it's so impossible, but yet there it is. So like that's why I feel like a lot of my stuff's been this journey where I've had to like say, man, like I walk around the world with blinders on. Like I don't actually look at stuff that's going on. So you always have to remove yourself from, I don't know, like the state of mind you'd be in if you were sitting down to do a math exam or something. You got to kind of let your just let go of, I don't know, maybe this is what like remote viewers, is getting into this state where you're not bringing any preconceived notions
Analytical
about,
ways.
yeah,
Analytical.
and just like or because I devised this system, or Rob Hazlett and I are working on this this kind of inventive technique that I used on him one time, and it worked really well. So we're trying to use them to decode Bigfoot videos. So one thing I've noticed when started looking at these cryptid videos is they're really, like, you look at the whatever the like the images on the YouTube search result, and you're like, holy shit, that thing looks like a 800-pound gorilla, like black, standing there right in the image. Like, surely that's not what's in the video. And then sometimes you get into the video and you'll see something like that. It'll be a still image, and you'll think, oh, well, then what is this, a fake? But if you look at it, okay, so you can decode these things. And this is this trick I found with Rob Hillary, is they're always like set up, they're always set up in a way that is almost meant to, and I may sound crazy here, it's almost like meant to pull you into observing in a certain way, or like to draw your attention away from something else that's going on. So you have this Bigfoot, like, I don't know if I have the thing. I actually have like videoed some of these thinking processes that I go through, because I'm probably not very good at presenting them. I'm not really a presenter type of person. But so if you get some really weird video or image like that, the trick is, if you can allow your perceptions to go away enough that you can interpret like whatever another way of looking at it, like how I'm saying the space in between two guys is a guy. All of a sudden, like the data, like your mind realizes what the optical illusion is. It's like those. Remember looking at those whatever they were like. These like puzzles or something on. There used to be in the office walls, like there was like a hologram, or there's like a checkerboard or something. If you stared at it long enough, all of a sudden, like 3D image would come out of it. I liken it to that. Again, I have somewhat of a social sciences degree, more like in sociology, but like I'm philosophical and all this kind of stuff. But I don't, no one knows how the mind works or whatever. But we certainly know that, like was just being discussed earlier on the show tonight. I found myself doing this sometimes when I was looking at this stuff, and I could be totally wrong. I'm not arguing that this is what is real or anything, but it's seeming to, like I am, like, in my own estimation, I'm on a genuine path of discovery of truth here. I don't need to share it. Like, I share it with you because I feel you're on the same journey. And then just as it happenstance, your audience is being able to share it with you. But you're never going to get me to come out here and like debate Mick West or something, because I care not for those individuals. Like when I was running with a Rotor and another guy who were really on the nuts and bolts, and I was too, but I started to sway and started to see. I'm saying, well, guys, are you not seeing what's going on here? And then they were so resolute in their position that it took me a while. I realized I started self-censoring. Like I was looking at these videos and I was only looking for what I knew they wanted to find in them. And then I came to this realization, like, wait a minute, I'm not being objective anymore. Like I'm following. I'm like either trying to please them, or I've fallen under the spell of the wanting to be in the mainstream of thinking. Like it was just subtle, but when I am no special person. I'm not trying to like give myself a pat on the back or anything, but some of these like just sort of intuitions I've had of ways to look at these videos and these little like tricks and stuff, they're because you're willing to just do something that you would normally like just, I don't know, like think of some crazy thing and like, let's just try that, like because I never would have got to where I am, sort of how I see these, if I had stuck to like the science program where no, you got to do it like with all. There's only a certain way to I don't know, analyze data, whatever. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm on a big rant here. I was just pretty stoked about this because I worked on this quite a while, and I'm giving myself a little pat on the back because this is a pretty good. I never thought I would see such an accurate reproduction of what I saw in real life. So
Yeah, I mean, like best case, it's something truly anomalous. Worst case, it's hard to see.
Yeah,
it's hard to see, but
yeah,
you could argue it's a baboon if you not here.
Oh no,
pictures.
Yeah. No, like look, I'll send you the whatever the base file, like the original video, so you get some perspective and stuff. Like I'm zoomed in like I don't know, a quarter of a mile away or whatever. So you have no idea. Yeah, right. But I've done. I did this intentionally to get the details of how these that's what that cat looks like, and time. Okay, when that is passing by, time is moving at 6% of our normal rate of time, right? Like because I reduced it. I take the video. So first thing I do is I slow it down to 25%, and then I go down another 25% of that 25%. That's my base. That's where I start from, or else you're not going to see any of that stuff, right? So, and then now I recently got like a 4K monitor and stuff, so I upgrade my software a little bit, so I can burn these things at 60 frames per second, so they're not just if you run that or whatever. I will continue to upload this video so you can just download that video and the other one or whatever you want, but. Oh man, that thing is moving like it's like gliding through outer space.
Yeah, can you put the TikTok link in the comments?
Yeah. You might even see it in the video because I don't like removing that, but I guess I should credit these people.
Yeah, you should
credit. I don't do anything with the videos, just for my own. So yeah, like hang on, stand by. I can get you for you right now. Yeah, so that's how we can find out the provenance of it. Okay, yeah. Oh man, I'm a bit of a scrambled brain right now, but I was up all night and then
yeah, no worries. You're just live on YouTube right now. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because just give me 1 second here. So yeah, and I got only a big like 1,000 different files. Okay, yeah, right. So I should go to where the original is, and then I know where that is. It's right here. No, I'm up one folder. Yeah, I mean, I know how the mad scientist thinking of a brain such as mine goes on, how I file my stuff. Yeah, what? You need a pair of red socks? Well, they're out in the garage under where the engine oil is, of course. Yeah, I'm just kind of making a joke there. Right. So, yeah, backyard Gizzy. Okay, here we go. So I've got no, I don't want that one. I want this was the first slowed it down. Yeah, here we go. Slow 25. Okay, yeah, I got it right here. TikTok. Okay, so this is just what it says. There's like a musical note sort of looking thing. I think that's our logo. TikTok. And then under it at the like THE Meg MEG Gal GAL sorry AL ODON. I'm gonna spell that out again. Okay, so the at sign, then the word the THE, and then the second third letter word is Meg MEG, and then the third 3-letter word is Gal GAL. And then the fourth third letter word is Odo, ODO. And then the last letter is the letter N for like Nord Stream or whatever, Okay, so that's the Meg The Megalodon. The Megalodon. I don't know. Maybe that's like a unicorn or something.
Or some kind of dinosaur, maybe. Megalodon.
No, I was making another joke. Like, I'm a bit dyslexic too, so I thought it was maybe the Meg Gal, and then something I don't know. But yeah, I like the guest comments. What the hell is a gray owl? I know not of this gray owl.
Let me just finish with these. All right. I think I probably need to. Yeah, it's a prehistoric giant shark, apparently.
We can play the original video. I got it right here too, or if you want, or I don't know.
No, I don't want to like.
That was my original intention too. Was like, look, I don't mind if you.
Well, actually, what they should do is go to the video that you're gonna upload.
Your subscribers, because like, look, I'm, I don't.
Where should they go? Because I can just show the address.
But we'll put a link to my YouTube channel on your channel or whatever. So, or however you want to do it. I don't know what.
I'll share it right now. Just tell me. Just tell me.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. Is. Well, just give me 1 second. I'll just tell you. Right. Yeah. And you know what? I think another problem that I'm having, like my computer, but like just packed in on me a couple times tonight. And then I started thinking, oh no, is it the X-rays? Is it the CIA? But I think it's I've been using this new browser, like what's it called, Opera or something, or I don't know. But it does all this crazy stuff. So I think it's you. And then it came to this point and said, "You've run out of memory," and the computer just shut down. I'm like, what? And then like the video was like 82%. I'm like, no. Yeah. Okay, so just give me 1 second here. Okay, so here. Oh no, that's yours. Okay, now let's go. Here, and it's like it's in some like it's still at 82%. Okay, so my channel is there's lots of other videos on there too, but like, look, that one. What's cool about that video is, so when you watch that, Sean, you like it invoke or like there's a lot of videos I make. People be like, what the hell is that? Like, you can't even see like shapes that recognizable to us.
Yeah, it's definitely something. It's definitely something live.
Yeah, well, and what there's like one of those pictures, the still images. You'll figure it out when you watch the. Like, I was just trying to isolate this one cat, but oh my god, yeah, it's weird. Okay, I don't know where I was going with that. Okay, so my channel is whatever. I better just go back to my channel. I'm great. Okay, hang on a second. I am Gray Owl 9, I guess. So so I'm youtube.com at Gray GREY LOWL and then the digit 9. Right? You could. Oh no, you can't.
You see it?
Oh well, I don't see it. I just see my. Oh, okay. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. Oh yeah,
that's okay.
Okay, here I am. Yeah, sorry.
I got it.
I'm in a different place. Oh yeah. Hey, look. If people go to my channel, you want to see a fucking nutty video, and it could be, I don't know what the hell it was, but like I was the night I filmed it, I would been doing some deep analysis and see these weird shapes, and then whatever reason I was talking to Rob on Signal and stuff. Then I was I was at my mom's place. I have this observatory platform. I started filming the moon. I put a couple videos on there. Man, it looks like fucking, like I was saying, Skinwalker Ranch. It looks like this like hole opens up and it's like blue sky on the other side of it at some points and shit. It's fucking nuts. And whatever, even if it's totally just clouds cooking by, it is fucking bananas looking. Rob, look, he's like, Jesus Christ, it looks like some sort of religious religious apparition or something at some point.
Yeah, or it could be a portal or something, right, to somewhere else.
No, that's what I was thinking. And yeah, if you're watching any of my videos, like, you're probably thinking, like, why does this guy just shut the hell up? Like, I kind of I hammer on through them. And it's kind of like I'm having a conversation with myself. So just don't pay me no mind, because I'll be talking about shit you either sounds like I'm nuts or Or sounds like
No,
something
I think what you have is interesting. I just don't know what it is, and
no, I know. I'm just saying,
all I
'cause
can
know
do is come up with various hypotheses. It could
I know,
be
yeah.
as mundane as a baboon. It could be
Oh
as
yeah,
crazy as a
yeah. And
interdimensional being, and I have
it
no
is
idea. Like I have no
yeah.
idea knowing. Right?
And
There's
you
no
know
way
what?
to know.
Well, another thing that is so like you realize if you go on one of these journeys where you deep dive into something that's really unusual, like even though you may not have, like I don't know what it, I feel like I know a lot about these things, but I don't know anything about them. I don't know where they're from, nothing. But just to get to that level, like to try and bring someone else to so that I could talk about, like even those nuts and bolts guys, they had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. I said, look, guys, I've been
Well,
showing you.
if you got like an optical physicist or engineer, I mean,
Yeah.
they could
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
vet that.
Well,
right?
Yeah. So there's the first time I described this sort of whatever I was seeing and stuff to Rob, like I had researched it and I sort of tied enough together to present a theory about it. And he immediately sent me just intuitively this video. I don't know where it's from, and it is about UFO people looking into interdimensional stuff. And it looked very like the stuff, like, you see these fucking things in the sky and they look like an amoeba or something, and like an amoeba, like high on.
Well, I mean, if you're bending space time to us, it probably looks like that, right?
But and what I'll post that. I'll put that video up too because it's really incredible. And you see really cool stuff in it too, because so these people, they'll like go out at night and they'll just be looking at UFO watching or whatever, but they know this stuff's going to happen, and like in the trees, like a huge human face will materialize, like a giant face, and you can see it. You can see it perfectly on their camera and stuff. That's how weird this shit is. Like this, I'll be like, "Oh my god, do you guys not see that?" And they'd be like, "No, we don't see it." And then they'd be like, "Well, we found this shadowy thing," and I'm like, "That doesn't look like shit to me." So, I mean, that's why I get into this. Anyone can see it differently, but I think you gotta go with what you are seeing. Although, if you hear,
it's definitely anomalous. It's definitely anomalous, but
okay. Yeah. And when I said, because I think about these things sometimes. I said, okay, if someone came to me and said, "Oh yeah, this thing showed up and had fucking snakes growing," I had snakes growing out of his face. I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah." But I would wonder, like, what would that look like? That's what it looks like, because those might not be snakes, okay? But the remote
viewer, they could be eye stalks, they could be any number of things, tentacles.
I want to show you, Sean. I'm going to show you something really cool right now too. The remote viewer drew that. Check it. I'm going to find her picture. It's bananas. And I did like this whole video on after she did that. I did this whole video on just snakes coming out of people's eyes. Yeah, I don't know if you ever watched that old World War II documentary that I got on my channel. Oh my god, there's some people in that with snakes or whatever. It's weird stuff.
All right, Gray Al.
Okay, yeah.
We're like 50 minutes. We're not 50, maybe 40.
Okay, so Sean, just check your. I'm gonna email you that picture. It's worthwhile in relation to viewing this.
Yeah, and make sure people go to Gray Al 9 on YouTube. I mean, it'll be up, I'm assuming, in the next.
Yeah, all you have to do is submit like any major credit card that goes directly to me, and whatever's on there.
Anything on this?
Yeah, the only reason I would put a video up not totally publicly is I don't know, just because it's gonna make somebody whatever, or YouTube won't let me because I got like a song in it or something. Because you'll notice in my videos too, I do a lot of videos where I try to use humor to comment on the politic of UFO or whatever stuff. So a lot of people get it, a lot of people don't. And then I do these little things. I know this is not, I wasn't planning on, this was meant for you. If I think it's useful. And I could easily go and just make a copy that has no bells or whistles in it and stuff like that. But another video that people really got to check on my channel. I don't know what it's called. It's like, or it's on my Rumble channel. It's like going like 5 pages in, and you'll see the card is like a couple of hot chicks like in red or something on it. That's the video I was able to draw in the backyard of Vegas off the police body cam. Oh my God, it's bananas. It's more bananas than this. Like this shape-shifting thing is just going to town. And I just put it on this loop. Because you remember the body cam when they got to the backyard, the police like blanked out. They put like a digital interference screen. But I like went in. I'm real creepy or sneaky with my techniques. I was able to peer like past the side of it at one particular angle, and like the loop in that video. I mean, it'd be like under or I don't know the amount of data that transpires in such little time. Because I think the original video here, and so I'm going to let you go, is I don't know maybe a couple minutes or something if it's that long. But you know when you slow it down, you realize how much is happening in the whatever. And you're right, Sean. It never looks the same like twice. It's so bizarre. There's so much weird stuff in there.
All right, brother.
Hey, later, bro.
Yeah,
thanks
good
a lot.
night. Yep. And audience, thank you for watching. Definitely watch the video. Definitely go to Gray Owl's site to see more of it. It'll be up there in kind of the next day or so. So just check it out. So
But
thank you, everyone.
Direct those all to through Grass Darkly, please.
Well, YouTube will let me know right away. Trust
Oh
me.
yeah, no.
Right.
I bet, dude, they are. Oh, yeah, okay, we'll talk about it next time. Okay, later, bro.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, later.
Yeah,
Bye.
watch that again. It's nuts, man.
All right. See ya. All right. Thank you, everyone. You all have a great night and good night. God bless and Godspeed.